Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Daniel Lim, Naota. Hopefully Leon and Hamada will also jump on. Hope you guys are well. Wow, man. Saturday, I was sitting there with my nice HD stream, because I'm not paying for that shit. And we were blessed with not only a great fight, but a great heavyweight fight, something we've not had in a long time. Dan, I'll start with you. I know you were speaking while the undercard was going on, and we spoke after the fight happened, and we were just so impressed with the fight overall, and how kind of Joshua went through a bit of adversity but came out through.
Man, that's what happens. Like, I want you guys just to learn. If you work hard, you stay humble. That's what happens. Just God blesses you. And just shout out to my boy Femi, man. That's my guy right there. Femi showed heart. Femi showed dedication. Femi showed just the will that I knew he always had. He just really impressed me. And the fight was incredible, man. The event was incredible. Probably the best event that I've ever seen in terms of any kind of combat sport, whether it's boxing or MMA. I've never seen an atmosphere like that in my life. And the walkout, the entrances was a little bit overboard, but I thought it was fucking entertaining to say the least. And it was it was funny, man. I watched this fight at a restaurant, so I got done training, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know what time the fight started. So I went to this like fish grill that I always go to. I had my computer with me, so I was watching the fight, and then it just happened like four people just randomly kind of walked by and saw the fight with me. They're like, wow, who's that? Like, they had no idea who this guy was, and we were all just kind of like enraptured in the fight by round 5 and round 6, obviously, when all the action went down. It was just one of those, I think, kind of altering events in terms of what it's going to do for Joshua's career. I thought the back and forth that was on display was, I mean, none of us predicted it. None of us. Everyone kind of predicted that if Joshua would win, he would have to win early, before 6 rounds, presumably, and win by knockout. And if if the fight went after 6 rounds, Klitschko would most likely win a decision by outpointing, outskilling, and just out-enduring Joshua. But that's not what happened at all. Joshua showed the determination to get back up after that 6th round, knockdown, when he was visibly hurt, visibly gassed. He took a couple of rounds off where he coasted, and he got his second win, which is really impressive, because I didn't think he really had that in him, just judging from how dense his body structure is and just how muscular he is, and just the way that he was able to string those combinations in the 11th round, especially with that fucking uppercut from hell in the 11th round, which props to Vlad for surviving too, man. Like, this fight is so awesome and so spectacular in the sense that everything that we predicted didn't happen. Everything that we questioned about both fighters was kind of answered, and then some, by both fighters. And Vlad's resistance and his just willingness and his balls to go off kind of like on a really high note towards the end of his career was pretty spectacular to watch, man. And it really just got me really pumped about the sport, because this is one of the best events that I think I've ever seen in boxing. I'm not like a historian, so I don't have much recollection of past big fights, but just the fact that the stage and everything was so grandiose, and the fact that the fight lived up to the fact that it surpassed the expectations was really special, man. And I'm fully on the hype train. I don't even call it a train. I'm on the fucking hype jet, the hype submarine of the Femi train, man. I fucking love AJ. I think he might be my favorite fighter right now, dude. He's fucking awesome, and he's just so humble, which I love to death. And shout out to Lucozade, man. If you guys want to get ripped and get big muscles, drink some Lucozade. That's how you get it.
And get a lot of sugar in your system, yeah. But you and AJ share a lot of similarities. You're both very humble, so that's good to see.
I know, man. We're both humble. We both want to make $1 billion eventually, but we're still humble at the end of the day.
Are you gonna give like any former friend?
You both rock Under Armour?
Yeah, you're gonna give any former friend or trainer like a free car or anything? Or is that coming later on?
Yeah, later on. I'm probably not gonna give it to you, Cam, just because I don't know, you're a little bit too messy for my liking. But I'll figure it out for somebody. Maybe I'll give it to Freddie or Marvin. But I'm just happy, man. It was a great fucking event, and it's funny. I showed my mom clips of the fight afterwards too, and my mom was like, "Who is this beautiful black beast, man?" I was like, that's Femi. That's an ebony god right there, dude. That's fucking amazing.
Was she more impressed with Femi than she was with Sergio?
Oh hell yeah, dude. She was like, this guy's so big. Like she was like, he's got such big muscles. I'm like, yeah, calm down, mom. Don't get too excited.
Ah, shit. Okay, Naota, your thoughts on the great spectacle?
I mean, like it's really hard to overstate exactly how great of a fight it was, man. Yeah, or it's just, Joshua Klitschko was, absolutely a fight of the year candidate up there. Round 5 is probably going to be the round of the year. I can't see really very much stuff standing up to that outside of maybe round 10 of Mariaga Valdez. The way they went back and forth and everything. I thought that Joshua was going to get Klitschko out of there in the 9th because I felt like he'd be able to kind of break him down over time. But to me, I always felt like if Klitschko was able to land that clean hard shot, it could be really troublesome for Joshua, especially if it comes later on as opposed to earlier. And when he got hurt in the 5th round and then dropped in the 6th, I was thinking it was over for Joshua. I'm like, oh no, he's not going to make it, just because of the way he reacted to those punches and just how badly hurt he looked. It didn't look good at all. But I mean, he managed to catch a second win, and it seemed like he managed to catch a second win just as Klitschko was starting to look like he was a bit arm weary, and it just pretty much happened at the perfect time, perfect circumstances. He capitalized on like I said, an arm weary Klitschko. And he was able to continue to break him down and get him out of there. Even on the scorecards, you could see that the fight was intense. It was close. They had a split decision in terms of, if the fight had gotten stopped right then and there. But at least before the knockdowns that Joshua landed on Klitschko in the last round. But I mean, the fight was just an absolute incredible one to watch. It's one of these ones that, I'm probably going to leave it on my DVR for a good long time. It might still be on there a year from now, just because of how good it was. It's because I'll rewatch them. I'll often rewatch a lot of these fights over and over again if I'm bored or if I need something to have in the background while I'm working out or what have you. But it was really just an incredible display. I got a lot of questions answered about Joshua in terms of his whispers. His whispers. In terms of his what do you call it? His
whiskers.
His whiskers, really, actually, like his chin, his ability to recover, his stamina issues. He was able to kind of pull through. He was how we've kind of said in the show a couple of times recently, the whole idea of an on-top fighter. He was able to overcome the adversity that Klitschko brought to him, especially as it looked like Klitschko was going to be the wily old vet to, have that one last great performance and upset the young dog and everything. And he came storming back in order to do to Klitschko. Incidentally, kind of what a lot of us always expected somebody like a Tyson Fury to do to Klitschko in terms of actually knocking him out, and really physically crushing him like that, even though this was a more competitive fight. So that's where I kind of get the argument from Fury and the Fury fans and everything of I toyed with him and all that stuff, but it's one of those things where he's been out of the ring for a while, and so he has to come back and continue to show and prove. You can't always just rest on your laurels. I mean, we've seen that recently with the whole Andre Ward situation. You got to come back and continue to win at the highest level and all that stuff. But with regard to Joshua, though, showed just an incredible amount of ability, and it still shows that you have to be a great damn fighter to defeat Vladimir Klitschko, especially the way that Klitschko looked on Saturday. He looked just completely on form. He was agile. He was up on his toes, boxing beautifully too. I mean, very, not even just aesthetically pleasing because he's always had a very nice looking style, but he was really effective as well in a lot of those spots. That I think a lot of people were giving him a little bit too much credit in some of those early rounds, but he was making them extremely close, even if he wasn't necessarily doing quite enough to win all the rounds. And he was giving Joshua just a hell of a run throughout the entire fight. It was very tense all the way up until all the knockdowns occurred, and it was tense throughout just because you realized that both guys could hurt each other. and anybody could go at any second all of a sudden, and it was an absolute classic. Probably the best heavyweight fight since Lewis and Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko. Or even potentially surpassing that, just with regards to the fact that there was knockdowns in this fight as opposed to that one. But definitely an all-time classic, and regardless of what Joshua does in the future, his name is definitely cemented in heavyweight boxing history with that fight, because classic fights usually get remembered more than classic fighters unto themselves. So props to the man.
Hamada, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's happening, man?
Nothing much. Just same old same.
You got a really bad line. Let me try
You
and
got
call.
some bad background.
Yeah.
You sound like you're sizzling bacon, Hamada.
Yeah, man. You got the oven going. Or you got the frying pan in the background. Try. I'm gonna have.
Hold on.
Try.
Hold on.
We have to let you go, Hamada. It was nice talking to you.
That's better now. You still there?
Yo, how's that sound?
No, that's better now.
There you go.
What did you do?
Fine.
Did you go to the fight, Hamada?
Sorry, Lim?
Did you go to the fight?
No. Fucking, what do you think? Some casual.
I don't know. I know you like to nick birds, so I just feel like that would be prime real estate to nick a bird or two,
Fucking, if you're not ringside, there's no point even going, because it's, what the hell, a little ring in the middle of the whole stadium. I mean, you can't see fuck all, mate.
He can't nick a bird in Wembley anyway, because his mum lives around the corner, so she might see him. She's like, "Yo, who's that guy you chilling with? Getting you a arranged marriage soon." Hamada, what do you think of the fight?
It was a good fight. I thought earlier on in the first 4 rounds was very cagey. Both guys are fighting. A bit scared, to tell the truth. I was disappointed in AJ in a way, because when he was fighting all these guys, he looked $1 million. But then once he got in the ring with a high level operator, you can clearly see some of the flaws in his game.
Yeah, I thought that. Sorry to cut you off, but when I was speaking to Dan afterwards, I initially thought that his technique went out the window after he was hurt and gassed. But when I looked back and watched it again, his right hand technique was terrible in the second round.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get onto. He wasn't even, the way he throws punches against these guys he was fighting before. I never questioned AJ's technique in terms of eye test. I've never I always thought his technique and his punching is solid, but it was quite poor, and I think it was due to Klitschko making him miss. This was probably the first time AJ had an opponent that was actually making him miss and being elusive. And he started, he didn't know pretty much what to do. He started getting a bit erratic, throwing the right hand. Instead of throwing it straight, he was kind of throwing it looping and around the side, kind of wide a bit. And yeah, I mean,
pushing the jab.
The jab was poor as well. I mean, Vlad was easily winning the battle of the jab, but I don't know. I think he hurt Vlad in the 5th, and then I don't even think AJ proper threw the kitchen sink at him. He went after him, and then I think Vlad must have clipped him with something. I can't recall anything, because AJ just stiffened up. He just was gone at the end of that round. And then the 6th round, I mean, that right hand that Vlad caught him with literally sat AJ down. AJ he just sat down on the floor. He didn't even get dropped. He just took a seat, and yeah, it was a cracking right hand from Klitschko. Down the pipe.
Regarding that shot, though, he took it flush, and yeah, he got dropped, but I don't know whether he did it purposefully, but I liked how he took his time. He might have just been so fucked that's why he took his time, but he took his time to get up and give him extra seconds, and the ref was a bit slow with both guys, wiping down the gloves, but he did get extra seconds to recover. But yeah, he took it flush, and he can't he survived the round, and he was slow, and he lost the following few rounds, but you have to give him credit, man, because Vlad's he's a big puncher, so.
But I just don't. Vlad's not a finisher, though, man. He just he's not like AJ. AJ showed like towards the end of the fight where he had Vlad hurt, like he put him away. Like Vlad's never really been a finisher. He's the type of guy where he will hit you one shot and then you're gone, and then it's night.
Yeah, well, looking back at the sixth after he dropped him and possibly the early part of the seventh, will Vlad now be kicking himself thinking, why didn't I jump on him? Why didn't I throw more flurries? Because he just looked like he was looking for that right hand again.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he looked like in the post-fight. You know, when he was asked about that, he said something along the lines of just being more assertive. But to tell you the truth, like, obviously that's a true statement to make. But the thing is, the fact of the matter is that on Saturday night, that was one of the more aggressive Vlad performances that we've seen altogether, right? So the very fact that he was even that committed to landing punches and not clinching and actually going for the gusto in a lot of portions of that fight is more than I had initially expected, which is obviously why the fight was so great. So him not jumping on his opponent is not something that really caught me by surprise. It's just what I expected, actually. And I remember there was a fight in the past where I think Vlad got KO'd just because he overexerted himself. And to me, I think Vlad is overly cerebral for his own good. He's too kind of like, I just think he's a really intelligent guy, and I think he plays it so safe because that's what got him to this point in his career. So it's like one of those two-edged swords, where obviously like it's fair for us to complain as to why he wasn't more aggressive, but that's really how he's been so dominant, in the past decade. It's the very fact that he is so conservative.
That's true. That is a fair point. Sorry, Hamad, you got anything else? Because there are a few other things I want to get into regarding the fight.
Yeah, I tweeted this from the 6th and 7th round. After that, I tweeted that Vlad just thinks AJ's done and he's going to try box his way to a decision, because that's just the way Vlad is. He's safety first. He just keeps it simple. He doesn't do anything he doesn't feel like is needed. Do you know what I mean? That isn't needed. He just jabs away.
Just go out of his way.
Exactly. And AJ was done like from round 6 to 9. He was done. Like he was literally on low. He was fighting on fumes, and I don't know. AJ tried to say, I saw an interview after. AJ said that he tried to take those rounds off to like regain his energy and that, but I don't know. I just think his second win kicked in. It took an awful long time for him to find the second win, by the way. But yeah, just round 11. Was it like with the first punch of the round? Like I think AJ clipped him with something, and then
is a 1-2 and he caught him with the right hand. But when I watched it back just earlier, it was very similar to the fifth. Basically, he came out and he caught him with a big shot right at the start of the round, and he duplicated that in the 11th. But obviously, he managed to jump on him and floor him twice and finish him.
The uppercut was insane, man. Like how Vlad stayed up from the uppercut, like that was crazy. And then I don't know. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter like bashing the stoppage. I think the stoppage was fine, man. Like especially when you get dropped twice heavily, and then you're on the ropes, not being able to defend yourself, even though the punches weren't really landing. I'm okay with the stoppage, to be honest, because he got dropped badly twice before that. Like, if it was like he got caught with one big shot and then he's gone back to the ropes and then the ref stops it, I understand that. But he was dropped twice, so the referees has taken that into consideration. Like, yo, you've been dropped twice heavily. You're on the ropes taking punishment now. All right, cool. It's not all going through, but Vlad didn't show anything, and Vlad didn't complain afterwards anyway. So I don't know why fans are complaining. I just think a few people are just a bit bitter, man, that AJ done the business, man. I'm just happy, man.
But I mean, some people are real tuned into the minutia of that. So it's to them, it's like if Klitschko wasn't hurt quite as badly as he looked when he got dropped, and the ref was giving him, kind of an extended amount of time to walk to him and show him his gloves and all that shit, then they'll be more apt to say that the ref should have let it go. And I mean, I thought the ref probably should have let it go a little bit longer, but it's one of those.
The ref helped Vlad as well. Like
he was hurt bad.
The ref that's what I was just talking about. Vlad more than 10 seconds to recover. Like he gave him a good 40, 15 seconds.
Yeah, both times.
Exactly. So I mean, the ref gave him the benefit of the doubt, man. Like I don't know. I think the stoppage is fine, and I'm just happy AJ stepped up. Do you know what I mean? He fought a lot of, for these first 18 fights were against guys that he's much better than, and he stepped up. And we've seen some flaws in that, but we found out he's got heart. His conditioning isn't great. I think he needs to drop some muscle. I think he's carrying way too much muscle. Like, this was the biggest.
I don't think that's something he can help.
Sorry?
I don't think that's something he can help.
I know, but he has to, because it's going to come to his own detriment, because we saw what he was like in the middle rounds, and I don't know, it's not a good look. I think this was the heaviest. I think he weighed 250. Like, and I remember, I think was it his first or second pro fight, he was only like 230, 233. And now look, he's blown up all the way up to 250. I don't know, I think he's some of that muscle.
How can you say it's not a good look, Hamada? He looks amazing.
No, I'm talking about in terms of this guy, you're a donut limb sometimes. But yeah, you know, in the ring, like, when he's fighting, I'm just saying, wise, and you know that.
Let me ask you a question, Hamada. Would you rather if you were AJ, would you rather become a better fighter or get more sponsorships because of your muscle? Come on, pretty easy answer. Rather keep them.
I'm not even gonna answer that question.
Did you guys see the size of AJ's quads?
Huge.
Jesus. So big.
Yeah, it was busting out of the fucking trunks, man.
The only complaint that I have regarding AJ's attire is I wish his shorts were a little bit shorter. That's all. I just wish they were.
You want to see more thigh?
And tighter shorts too. Like maybe it's not that hard. Make your shorts transparent. Come on, bro.
Okay, that's too much now. But no, Hamad, I kind of agree with you, man. I think he does need to drop a bit of muscle mass. But Naoto, why do you think he can't, or he would find it difficulty, or it'd be a detriment to him?
I think he's built like that. I think he's always just gonna be a big brolic motherfucker. There's people that are just built like that, and I mean the thing is, you can help your stamina without having to actually get rid of muscle mass. It can be done. I mean, I think there's a big myth out there that somebody so and so is carrying too much muscle. I mean, has Tim Bradley been carrying too much muscle his entire career? Because I mean, he's the most diesel looking motherfucker at welterweight. And his stamina is top notch. He's always in great condition. And I think if anything, Joshua could just be in better condition for his overall size and shape, and go in there a little bit better. And honestly, I also think that he could tuck his chin better and move his head a little bit more in order to not take punches quite as flush. And I don't think he's necessarily had to deal with that before, because he didn't have somebody as pinpoint accurate and rangy as Klitschko. But it could definitely bite him in the ass if he's fighting some of the other top heavyweight fighters that have big punches. Just because you don't want to be taking all that stuff completely flush. Because as good as he is, in terms of his agility with his feet, his hands, and his movement and everything, from the chest up, he's very stiff. He could definitely use a lot more fluidity. Just kind of, I don't know, maybe you have him do some yoga or something, get a little bit more flexible in terms of being able to move and
I kind of disagree,
more proper rhythm.
I thought AJ looked very heavy on his feet. I thought Vlad a lot of times was just stepping back and moving to his left, and AJ was throwing the right hand, and it was always falling short because he wasn't bringing his feet in with the punches. So he definitely doesn't have Klitschko's footwork. I'm saying especially for a heavyweight, he's pretty good. He moves around the ring pretty well. He could definitely be outmoved, but I don't think that it's such a glaring weakness where it's he's gonna get Canelo'd, where he's gonna fight somebody that's able to dance circles around him. I don't think that's gonna happen to him. Obviously, there aren't people like that heavyweight, but I don't know, man. You're right. I totally agree with you. That from the shoulders up, his body doesn't move, man. It's very stiff, very stiff. His head barely even moves. His head moves very, it doesn't move enough to evade punches. It will just move. He'll try to kind of slip, but then it's just not moving. It's the muscles, man. The muscles around the neck and the shoulders. It's gotten very tight around the area, so he can't really move his head properly and evade punches.
Just a little thing that I noticed. Sorry, no?
I think AJ is one of those guys where, again, not to mention, some people, especially even people that I know, I've seen people, especially fighters, trying to lose muscle And I mean, it is possible, but I think it's one of the most difficult things to do in terms of changing your anatomy. And I've seen a lot of fighters who are very kind of muscle bound. They tend to be very explosive, fast twitch athletes. And when they try to change their body anatomy by becoming, more lean and losing some of those muscle fibers, they become kind of like less fast twitch. So they may get, somewhat decent, better stamina, but their kind of explosive fast twitch muscles also decline as a result. So
they're losing more than they gain.
It's a really difficult thing to do, honestly. So I think AJ should just keep, being, as sexy and thick as he is right now, and just leave it at that. It's a good problem to have.
Just keep being Femi, man.
Exactly.
But you know what it is, though, Lim? You see, Lim, all this muscle he's put on over the course of his professional career. Like, when he turned pro, he was nowhere near as big as this. Like, he was weighing.
He was younger, though, too.
Yeah, he's growing up, but if you see him in the amateurs as well, he was nowhere near as big as he is now. Like, now it's like he's just basically a bodybuilder, pretty much. Like, he's that
he was always
big,
fast, right?
He's huge.
Because even when I saw him in the amateurs, you could just tell he still had that body. That's why I never really bought into the fact that, AJ has to be on steroids. Like, I've seen dudes like AJ who are just fucking genetic freaks, and they just always have had that kind of build. So, I don't know, man. He does seem to lift a lot of heavy weights, though. Like, I've seen training footage of him, and he does tend to, lift like 90-pound do 90-pound, dumbbell shoulder shrugs and fucking shit like that. So I just think he's one of those dudes who likes to, bro it out sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Okay, just quickly, technique-wise, I love something that Vlad was doing. Like, usually, if you got a southpaw and orthodox, like, they kind of fence, and one guy will try and pull the jab hand down, and so he can get his jab off or his jab 1-2. And Vlad was doing it against. If you noticed, he'd try and pull AJ's jab down with his jab, so he just had like nothing obstructing the straight right to his head, and it worked pretty well. And it was just like a kind of Wiley Fox kind of move where AJ didn't really adjust to it. His hand was always a bit away from his face, and Vlad was doing it and having success. But another thing I want to get into is scorecards. Like, I think Vlad 2 up until the stoppage, 2 points up, and 2 of the judges had AJ up, and I don't know, like, a lot of the close rounds I thought Vlad was just doing a bit more in those. He was using the jab better, his movement was good. Like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of like that hopping technique, like he did look light on his feet, and he was moving around the ring a lot better. And I don't really see how 2 of the judges had AJ up until that point. I just thought that was maybe a bit of a home cooking, and if it would have went to 12, I think that would have been a controversial robbery in a way. Anyone got any thoughts?
The scorecard was a bit of a joke, to be honest. I wasn't scoring it live, but other than the round AJ knocked him down and probably 2 of the first 4 rounds, I can't see AJ winning any other round pretty much. So that would for me, that would have Vlad winning quite clearly. So I don't know. I think Eddie Hearn had the judges that had the home cooking ready. If worse came to worse.
I disagree. I thought the judges' cards were actually fairly on point. I mean, honestly, I thought Joshua swept the first 5. I didn't think Klitschko went around until he dropped. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know.
Because I thought Klitschko was doing well, but I didn't think he was doing good enough in order to win the round. I thought Joshua was controlling more of the round and landing more of his shots throughout the round. And like, especially in the second round, a lot of people gave that to Klitschko. To me, Klitschko landed a good couple of shots at the very beginning, and then nothing else in the entire round, and people got like oohed and awed by those couple of early shots, whereas Joshua controlled the rest of the round.
I think the first
I don't know if to give him every round, like, is a bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a bit much, though. I think the first biased, 2 were kind of toss-up. Like, you can give it to either of them. I give AJ the 3rd, and I give Vlad the 4th, and obviously the 5th there was a knockdown, but then Vlad came back.
I can see the 4th.
But anyway, like.
But I mean, even still, like, I give the 10th to Klitschko, and a lot of people give that to AJ. But I mean, I thought Klitschko got the 6th, the 7th, obviously the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and then the 10th.
You give the 9th to Josh.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, same. I'll give 9th to Josh, 10th to Vlad.
Yeah, and I mean the judges, I didn't think had it exceptionally wide. It was still very much in the air. Had Vlad stayed on his feet in that 11th and then close out the 12th nicely, he could have definitely won the fight.
You know what? A lot of people as well. When I was watching the fight. I noticed Vlad has this weird. It's not really weird, but this weird kind of defense where he wouldn't bring his hands up to his face. He would rather bring his arms up. So it's like the punches AJ would throw would hit him on the side of his shoulders and stuff. So I don't know. I think some of the judges and stuff would probably think, oh yeah, AJ's caught him with some punches, whereas he's actually hit him, say on the shoulder or, do you know what I mean? Because it is a bit like when you get punched on the shoulder or on the chest, it does look like you've been actually hit with a punch. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but if Vlad's doing that, AJ should be banging him to the body, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
But actually, he did really good.
Yeah, he did
towards
the end.
Sometimes, especially in some of those clinches, and I think that actually helped him a lot too. I think that's what managed to kind of help tire Vlad out a little bit after Klitschko had that nice little surge in the mid rounds. I think those body shots accumulated.
One thing AJ did do that was the one adjustment he did make was towards the end he started throwing the right hand from a lower position, because when Vlad would step back, he would bring them arms up to try and catch them on the shoulders and stuff. So what AJ would do, he would come underneath his arms with the right hand, so he'll kind of squat down and shoot the right hand, and then it'll be coming up towards Klitschko's face instead of it coming straight into his arms and his shoulders.
So it's kind of out of his peripheral view. He's not seeing it coming straight away. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's coming from underneath his arms. So, yeah, that was one good adjustment. But I don't know. What do you not think of AJ's corner work? Rob McCracken and that.
I don't know. The bits that I heard, I didn't think Rob McCracken was that good in instructions. He was just kind of saying, "Oh, he's getting tired now. You have to step it up." And the only other kind of technical advice I heard was towards the end when he was saying, "Okay, now you need to start throwing combinations now, 1, 2, 3, think." But that's kind of basic. It's not anything majorly, tactical. So I didn't really rate him. He looked a bit shouty, and he looked like his voice went up 1 octave. Like when you see him in interviews, he's quite calm, but he looked quite stressed. But having said that, AJ was down. He was hurt. I guess the occasion got to him, but I wasn't that high on his work. But I'll give him a pass until maybe a few other fights where we hear more, because the cameras weren't going to the corner as much. And Frotch, he was talking over all that shit, so you couldn't even hear it.
I don't rate McCracken. I don't rate him, to be honest.
Why?
I don't know. I think I didn't like the corner work, man. I didn't really like it. Like Cam said, it didn't seem coordinated. The game plan was non-existent. Was there even a game plan? I didn't see any game plan on the show from AJ. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe AJ needs to get a new trainer.
Yeah, you're right. I think he needs a new trainer.
I'm joking, man, but I don't rate McCracken though, to be honest. But I don't know if he needs a new trainer, but I don't know. I just don't think McCracken's all that.
You know what? I couldn't even assess McCracken properly because the night before I watched the movie Kong, and Rob McCracken looks exactly like John C. Reilly to
me. When you told your story about sitting in the restaurant watching the stream, I just picturing you. With loads of people behind you just watching this laptop.
No, that's exactly what happened. It was funny because, I have a pretty small laptop and I was just eating, and there's this 4 dudes just sitting behind me "Oh, dude, what's that like?" And then round after round, the fight got progressively more exciting. And there was this little, not a stir obviously, but people just all scrunched around a computer screen in the middle of a restaurant watching the fight. It was pretty cool, man. So
was the stream?
I want to ask you guys a question. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Before you ask the question, was the stream HD?
No, it wasn't HD. It was pretty good, but not HD, unfortunately. But the question that I wanted to ask you guys, and it's a pretty casual question, honestly. Do you guys think this version, the Vladimir that showed up against Joshua this past Saturday, do you think he was markedly, a better version of himself than the one that showed up against Fury?
100%.
Or do you feel like it's because it's just Fury's style that negated or relegated Vlad to the version that showed up against him?
I think it's kind of a bit of both. I think the style of Fury definitely like negated what Vlad had, but he also looked, like he couldn't pull the trigger. Where in this fight, he looked like he had something to prove. I think he took a lot of criticism after that Fury fight, and I think he went in there thinking, kind of kill or be killed. I'm going to actually go for it. So I applaud him for
his
that.
mentality.
Yeah, I applaud him for that because initially I was thinking maybe if he gets caught with a big shot, I said last week on the show that he might become negative and just try and hold out for a loss, but on the cards rather than getting stopped. But he actually went for it and he shown heart, and like both guys shown a lot of heart. Man, it was really fun to watch.
I don't know, man. I just think Fury done a number on him mentally, and then he done a number on him in the ring. I think Vlad's a very basic fighter. I mean, he's only got 3 punches that he likes to throw: his jab, right hand, left hooks, and everything comes off the jab for Vlad. And Fury, what Fury did well is he took the jab away from him, and he kept falling short with his jab or missing the jab, and he weren't confident in throwing anything else because Vlad don't do anything other than jab 1-2s, 1-2 or lead left hooks, and Fury took that away from him. So, and early on, Vlad got the jab working, and that just creates confidence for him, and he felt confident in throwing the right hand a bit more this time, and he had success. I think that's what it comes down to. I think what you lot said is like Vlad did have a lot to prove. Like his back was against the wall in this fight, but other than that, I just pretty much think Vlad was the same Vlad. Just Fury just done a number on him.
I kind of agree with what you guys were saying too. I think in this fight he kind of had the Fury fight to build off of in a mental sense, where he was thinking like, I can't leave anything in the tank for this one. I have to start a little bit faster. I have to try to build up a certain amount of advantage in whatever I can do. And when it came to hurting him, I think he definitely tried to really put it on Joshua, and at the very least create like a significant foothold in terms of a point advantage. So while I do think a lot of it was Fury just completely styling on him and really doing a lot of things to take Klitschko's advantage away, I also think that Klitschko had the mindset in this fight, like, I'm not going to let that happen to me again. I'm not going to let somebody just come in here and embarrass me like that again. I'm going to do whatever the hell it takes. If I have to go out on my shield, so be it. And that wound up kind of being what happened at the very end, because even as Joshua was rocking Klitschko in those last couple of rounds, Klitschko was still firing back. He was still firing those mean left hooks and everything because he knew that he could hurt Joshua, and if he could just land one of those money punches, he could completely shift the tides of the fight the other direction.
Sir Salt has jumped on the line. Leon.
Hello.
Have you brought your salt with you? Is it a big bag?
It's not that big. I was just dealing with
I'm glad you survived the noose, Leon.
Yeah, I was just dealing with the intruder cam, so I'm a bit on adrenaline rush at the moment. But
just for the people at home, basically, you had a crawler situation where your neighbours were possibly getting burgled.
Yeah, I went out to the back garden to have a smoke, and there was a man climbing. Yeah, in my neighbour's garden. Yeah. You didn't get
bricked though, like crawler, did you?
No, fuck that. Fucking locked the door when I got the dog.
Did you try help him out?
No. He was gone by the time I went back.
Shit. All right, let's get to
You're a bad neighbour, man.
Tell us how great AJ is.
I didn't. The neighbour, the man, I scared the man off. He was gone.
Did you call the police?
He hadn't done anything. He was just there.
Should have called the police, Leon, man.
We're not going down that path.
Leon, let's talk about your favourite boxer, Anthony Joshua.
Old big stiff idiot 2.0.
Yeah, man, give us your thoughts on the fight.
AJ proved to be able to take a shot. Proved he got heart, but I don't think that's really ever in doubt. and he proved a more instinctive fighter than I am. I thought, like I think he was fighting on instinct at the end there, but skill wise, I think he was pretty horrible in places. His jab's dog shit, and I don't know. I think he got through on heart and being a big dude as well. I think that helped. Like, I think his size helped him. But I mean, what's happening if you're gassing after 4 rounds and nothing's happened? I mean, do you think that was pressure or the big event that got to him? But he'd got caught with a few shots, but he was gassed before he got hurt.
He was missing a good bit. So, I mean, I think that played a role.
I think that he was, when he hurt Vlad, he was like, I think the sense is like, oh, thank goodness, I've nearly got this done. So I think that rocked his world, that second half of that 5th round, because he realised he was in a fight. That
was a great round, though.
Yeah, but I think to Nauta's point that I just heard a bit there is that he made him, AJ made him fight, even though I didn't think he was great in those first 3 rounds. And I think I gave him to Klitschko because he looked like the guy who looked most comfortable and in control in those early rounds. And he's not like Klitschko's output was significantly bigger. He didn't go in there throwing, letting his hands go consistently. He didn't throw a lot more punches than he usually does. I think he threw it with bad intentions for once. He didn't have that nervous energy that he had against Fury, because I think Fury just fucked with his head. Because Fury's a weirdo. But, I think AJ proved stuff he answered some questions. The idea that he answered all the questions, that seems to be like the kind of, I'm hearing that a lot, like, oh, that's it, like, he's answered every question. We can never doubt him or question anything about him again. I think is a nonsense, because I feel Vlad fucked this fight. Like, Vlad had him. A more aggressive fighter would have got him out of there, because it wouldn't have taken much to get him out. Because he was that hurt. If you just let off a big flurry of punches, the ref would have stepped in. He didn't even have to hit. He didn't have to land another big bomb. He was so out on his feet that you just had to put him under so much pressure. 20 seconds work, letting your hands really go. They would have called that fight off. Like what happened in the 11th round, which I still think, it wasn't like AJ was cleaning his clock with all those punches in that last flurry, was he? Nothing really landed. It was just the pressure was applied to him, so the ref felt like he was out of control and had to step in. And I think if Vlad had done that to AJ, that's exactly what happened. So in other situations, I think other heavyweights would have pounced on him and he would have been stopped. If Wilder had hurt him like that, I know some people saying that Wilder wouldn't have finished him. I think anyone would have finished AJ the state he was in that round, because all you had to do is apply pressure and the ref would have jumped in.
Yeah, man, he would have thrown those windmills and
even if they're not landing, the ref gonna, even if they're not landing, you're so out of it. The ref.
Well, I mean, you can at least you can at least give the potential optics for the referee and stuff, and especially I think he got
a long time. He got.
I mean, they both did.
Yeah, I think they both did. They did. The ref did give them both time, but AJ was done. He was toast, man. Wasn't he? Did you think he was getting out that round?
Yeah, no. When he got dropped and as hurt as he looked in the first couple of seconds, right afterwards, I was like, no, it's over for him. Because
when he stood up,
just looked fucked.
When the next small flurry of punches after he got up and had the count and they went to fight, he looked stiff, didn't he? Like a board stiff.
Yeah.
Nah. Vlad fucked it, man.
Yeah,
I think Vlad feels that way too, because that's the look that he had on his face in the post fight interview, and he just looked like he looked just frustrated, like he's like, oh man, I can't believe I blew it.
And he might not have questioned the stoppage in the ring, but he questioned the stoppage later on.
Yeah, I was kind of torn on the stoppage. We discussed it earlier before you jumped on, but initially I thought the barrage of punches, a lot wasn't landing, and I thought it was a bit early to stop it, but a few people made the point that when the boxer himself doesn't question it, then you think it's okay.
But he did question it.
No,
That's
no,
the point.
no,
He did fucking question it.
No, not at the time. Like some
Yeah,
guys look at the ref and
like
go.
in the immediate aftermath.
Yeah,
where he's
some
looking
guys look at the
like,
ref and
"Come
go,
on,
"Nah,
fucking
man, I'm
jump."
okay." Blah blah
But
blah.
what does that means nothing to me. That doesn't mean anything.
How does that not mean anything?
Well, because if the ref's call and the ref got it wrong, them complaining to the ref doesn't mean the ref did the right thing.
Yeah, but
Do
it
you know what
shows
I mean?
that he's
Him making
aware.
a big protest.
But it shows that he's aware enough to know that the fight shouldn't have been stopped. If he's not complaining, he looks like.
Nah, I don't know, man. I don't buy into that shit. I still think he gets stopped 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds down, although there wasn't long left in the round, but the ref doesn't know that.
But also, what happened before that barrage? He got dropped heavily twice.
Yeah, he did, but he was on his feet. He didn't look. He wasn't like he had bobblehead going on in that flurry. I'm not saying that he doesn't get stopped. I'd just like to have seen it go.
Okay.
Go another 20 seconds.
All right, quickly. What's everyone's thoughts on the rematch, Dan? Is that something you'd like to see, or do you think Vlad should just retire and we move onwards with AJ?
Do you guys want to see AJ versus WK too? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I want it, but he should go to Germany and do it.
That's not
That's not going to happen.
Come on, no.
Why does that even matter?
Just go and do it, man. World champion.
Get him spongy.
Like
Get him that spongy canvas. Get him.
I wanna
the
see
Go out
that.
there and do it, man.
I want to see him
He'll
fight
fight
Deontay.
Pulev. He's fighting Pulev. End of story.
I think he's going to fight Pulev too, but I want to see him fight Deontay Wilder.
That's the only fight I want at the moment is Wilder.
Deontay better, if he does fight Pulev, which I do think is going to happen, Deontay better get that fucking belt off of that QE bum, Parker, and make it a unification.
But
That's
now we're calling him a bum.
I always thought
He's not
Parker.
a bum.
I think he is. I thought he looked like dog shit against Andy Ruiz.
Well, do you look as bad as Joshua did in this fight?
Well, yeah. Well, no, because it's hard to say.
You lot should be fucking raging. You fucking picked him to knock him out in 3 rounds. He's fucking. Go on,
I picked him. I picked him in 9.
man.
I
Come on,
picked
boys.
him in 9. So I was
Shit all
only a
over him.
couple rounds off.
Come on, he let you down.
Fight.
Come on.
Complain about.
We give all kinds of fighters shit on this program. Why did he blast him out of there in 3 rounds? Come on.
Yo, AJ would smash Ruiz.
Because he's a big stiff idiot, and he's a broke plumber for Liverpool.
He
Would
would
I rather
smash
have a
Ruiz.
prediction right, or would I rather have a great fucking fight?
Leon,
What's that?
he would smash Ruiz. Like, Ruiz wouldn't. Like, that was
Yeah,
a
but that's not
close
to
fight.
say
That
that
could have
we're
went
now
either way.
calling Joshua and Parker a bum and that's not a fight we wouldn't mind seeing.
Parker's not a bum, but Parker is, like, not that good.
He hasn't
Okay.
proven to be on the level of Joshua.
Yeah.
I'll just put it
The
that
thing
way.
is, like, sure, you can say that Parker looked better than AJ, like, if you relatively compare the fight that they were in, but it's because he was fighting Andy fucking Ruiz versus Vladimir Klitschko. You know?
And nearly
Yeah.
lost to Ruiz.
Yeah,
Nearly
no,
lost.
yeah.
I mean, in that fight, honestly, I thought.
You know, his resume to this point was just as good as AJ's.
Leon,
Yeah.
you call everyone a bum, Leon.
I was always harsh on Parker. I don't think he's good. I think he's really, really, really poor.
Well, this is a big fucking problem for me because there's no chance I see this hype job get exposed if he's the 3rd best guy in the division. Then isn't he? I mean, that's the shame of it. This division might not be good enough for AJ. You know.
Another, you brought up an interesting point because you said, if any other guy was in there with Joshua in that 6th round, they could have gotten him out. One argument that I've been hearing a lot from people who are pro Wilder fans, have been telling me, if Wilder was in there, he would have gotten him out of there. Sure, he probably would have in that same exact situation, sure. But my question is, can Wilder actually get Joshua to that point? And I don't think so. Because I think Wilder is very, very sloppy. He's like, if you want to compare Wilder to Klitschko, even at Klitschko's advanced age, I pick Klitschko any single day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people
Listen, man,
talk about.
I'll tell you, man. I'll tell you now. After seeing AJ against Vlad, I want to see the Wilder fight more. I thought AJ would walk through Wilder, and I'm not so sure now.
Fuck Wilder,
Well,
man.
because
Wilder needs to step up.
we're-
Like
we're-
Wilder's still fighting people like Washington and all these. Like
Yeah.
Wilder's irrelevant. Why are we even talking about Wilder? He's had.
He's not
40
irrelevant.
title fights.
He's not irrelevant.
He's
It's the
even
only
stepped up. He's not
fight
irrelevant.
worth
Stepped up
seeing.
in
You're going too far in the other direction.
Exactly.
He's not irrelevant.
He's not irrelevant. He's the only fight that I want to see now.
He's one of the top contenders. If you want to say there's only one champion heavyweight, okay, then Joshua's the champion, and then Wilder's one of his top contenders. Along with Parker, along with Ortiz, along with Fury whenever he decides to come back and get off the fucking mountain snow.
No.
But
Wilder's irrelevant. I don't even want to hear Wilder. Wilder needs to earn him.
Wilder's not irrelevant.
Is he irrelevant? That is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. In this weight division, that's fucking
He's
shitty.
completely irrelevant.
He's a belt holder. He's a paper champion.
How the hell is he relevant?
He's a paper champion. He's a belt holder.
But
Well, that
who
still
isn't
makes
a
you
paper
relevant.
champion in this division?
Still makes you
Everyone's a
That's
paper
fine.
champion in this division.
Exactly.
No one with a belt is anything other than a paper champ.
AJ's legit now.
Let me
No, man. He's got. If you're going to be real, if you're going to talk belts, they got Fury's belts.
yeah,
AJ,
I was gonna say
if
that
you care
makes
about
Joshua
belts,
a paper champion then. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Hold on. Let me please say one thing. One more thing, Mata. You know who else was a paper champion up until yesterday? Anthony Joshua. You got to
He
give
was
these
up
guys.
until yesterday. He changed that.
You got to
Wilder
give
Paper
Wilder
champ. They're all paper champs.
One at a
Division.
time. One at a time, guys.
potentially prove himself. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give him that chance. And the thing is that sure, all of these guys are paper champs. So are you going to say that Parker is more of a legitimate champion than Wilder? I don't think so. Fucking Parker hasn't fought anybody either. So who else do you have on the list? Luis Ortiz?
Just a second. All the people who are champions now won vacant belts. Every single one of them won a vacant belt.
Okay.
Whatever we say, Fury, they've got Fury's belts. He's a fat mess, and we don't know if he's coming back. But until he's he's got the linear thing, which if you care about that, then it's his.
Has Wilder beat a top 10 heavyweight?
I think Bermain Stavern, when he fought him,
At that point, yeah, he was.
No way.
That weight division is
You're
fucking
over exactly. You're
Stavern's
overrating the
above now.
division.
What's Stavern doing?
What does that mean? Anything?
Stavern was basically Charles Martin.
No, he had better
He
wins than
looked
that's
like-
nonsense.
Stavern was better than
Yeah,
Charles.
he beat Arroyo
He was
twice.
top 10 at that point.
But listen, Hamad,
So's Charles
but even-
Martin.
and the thing
No,
is,
he.
let me break it down from a casual perspective. The thing is, the reason why I don't think Wilder is irrelevant is because he does have a belt, whether you think that's paper or not. It's still the WBC belt, which is considered, the most quote unquote established or most, recognizable belt, if you will. And secondly, he's a big ass motherfucker, and stylistically, it's a fight that I'm really intrigued by stylistically, because whether you can, dishonor his chin, he still is fairly athletic. He has decent footwork in the sense that he is athletic and he can move around, and he's got really big fucking power. And I'm really curious to see how AJ would respond to a right hand that's more wild, that I can't say whether it's stronger than Vladimir's punch for punch, but I think a guy who's going to be certainly more aggressive and who's younger. And it really is the perfect fight for AJ's entrance or gateway into the U.S. market. So if
It's
he
a
can
different style.
So what I'm saying is, if he fights Parker and gets that belt, and they have the opportunity to make that a lineal fight, I don't know how the fuck you can say that that's something that you don't want to see.
I'm just saying Wilder's irrelevant because Wilder talks and says, I'm going to fight this guy, I want to fight him, and then he goes and fights Washington, or he goes and fights a Polish guy that we've never heard of, or he goes and fights Spilko, or he goes and fights Eremini. He's irrelevant, man. The guy don't want to fight no one. He's there fighting, weak competition, weak guys. Like, he needs to step up. He needs to fight somebody.
One about Wilder.
And then we start talking about Wilder. Wilder has to prove himself.
Prove himself. He's number 3 in the division. It is what it is. You want him
By
to prove
technicality,
himself.
because he has a belt.
But then what
That's
do you
why you're putting
fucking
him there.
want?
It's a technicality. That's why you're putting in number 3, because he has a belt.
Just to be fucking brilliant. Whose resume in the heavyweight division? They're all shit resumes.
He would have fought Povetkin had he not.
Just let me finish this point. They're all of Fury resume is shit apart from you fought Vlad, pretty much. and now Vlad has legitimized those two guys. Like everyone's resumes are shit. No one has a decent resume in that division, particularly. Maybe Pedvetkin might have had a few more names on his resume, but Wilder went to Russia to fight him. To be fair to him, he was there.
Beat the dog shit out of him in his own fucking country.
That might have whatever happened. That guy's irrelevant. He's irrelevant. He's truly irrelevant.
I never said Povetkin was relevant. He is.
I'm just saying.
I agree.
Yeah, but we're saying that Wilder had, but it's taken a long time. But he was stepping up to fight a guy, and it got fucked. And once it was fucked, he had nowhere to go. He had no fight to make because all the best guys had fights. To be fair to him, so he's got until the end of this year to get a top fight for me because Pedvetkin fucked him. Now it's right, he fucked him.
Yeah.
I just want to see AJ fight either Vlad again or Fury. Like, even though Fury is banned.
Yeah, I want to get into the Fury thing, but Dan, you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying I really don't understand Hamada's logic here because the thing is I'm ruling out Tyson Fury because of the current state that he's in, and obviously I'm running on the assumption that Vlad is going to retire. So if that's the situation, Hamada, then who would you rather see him fight other than Wilder?
Ortiz.
All right. Well, I think that says it right there. I don't give a fuck about Luis Ortiz, man. You want to talk about dog shit resumes? That fucking guy that he fought in the last fight in the UK. Like all of these guys, what we're trying to say. Like all these guys haven't done shit. They haven't been carrying their weight for shit.
Quickly, Lim, regarding Fury, as much as I dislike Fury, I would think that he beats AJ quite easily. As much as a fuck up he is. I see kind of Hearn just staying away from that fight, making excuses. Oh, we got Povetkin mandatory. Okay, the Wilder's a bigger fight, it's unification. And I think if the Fury fight does happen, it'll probably happen like 2 years down the line or something. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think AJ is kind of like Canelo in the sense that they're willing to fight the top guys, but their promoters don't want them to, obviously, because they're both their cash cows, respectively speaking. But no, I think Fury would be the favorite, but I think AJ would have a chance, and he would do a lot better than Vlad did just because of the fact that he's younger. He'd be more aggressive, and the thing I really like about his willingness to fight on the inside, whether it be the uppercut or the right hand or the body, he's more aggressive than Klitschko. So I think that fight would be like a 60-40 fight right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if, AJ knocked him out either. Just because, like, we keep talking about these fucking heavyweights, and before the Klitschko fight, Fury was completely unproven too. So all of these guys are pretty fucking green, if you ask me.
Leon, your thoughts if AJ and Fury will happen, or?
I just thought it was weird that AJ called out a man who's on a drug ban and isn't going to fight anytime soon. I just thought that was weird. Like, what's the point in calling him out at the end of a fight? I don't see how that fight can happen for at least a year.
Is he on a drug ban, though? Because it's still not really official.
Well, it's about as much. People are convinced he's on a drug ban. He's on, he admitted to cocaine use, so that's coming up soon, isn't it? That case, I think, because something's going on with that. But look, the man's inactive. He's not available to fight, so I just don't see it happening. That's why I want to see the Wilder fight.
Nikki, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's anybody's guess as to exactly what Fury's actual status is. As for the rematch, I mean, I wouldn't mind necessarily seeing it. It was a fight of the year candidate. Fight of the year candidates usually get rematches. Juan Diaz versus Marquez did. Vasquez versus Marquez did, etc. Mayweather versus Maidana did. Gonzalez versus Cesar will. And I'm pretty sure that this probably will also, especially because of the money involved. There's just so fucking much money on the table. As far as I read, they split a base purse of 20 million pounds each, 20 million pounds between the two of them. So that's $13 million for each of them. And they're probably going to make out with 20 million each by the time that's all said and done with the pay-per-view revenues coming in. So that rematch is going to make even more, I think, because they have this fight to build off of, on top of all the hype that there was surrounding the fight to begin with, this matchup, and Joshua's star being born truly, completely truly. So I think it just makes way too much money, and Vlad feels confident enough. I think in just kicking himself in the aftermath of the fight that he could get him, and make it even a big money trilogy possibly. Failing that though, like failing that matchup either happening or happening immediately, I could definitely see Joshua winding up fighting Pulev to clear out the mandatory for the IBF, because Pulev will wind up being the mandatory at some point in the near future. I don't think he's been officially named yet though. And Pulev is just a level below. He's a big stiff idiot, like we all like to say. And other than that, I wouldn't mind seeing the Ortiz fight or the Wilder fight, or Fury whenever he decides to come back. But I'd imagine that the rematch just makes too much money at this point for anything else to really get in the way outside of Vlad taking a tune-up or something. But as for Wilder, Wilder presents a whole different stylistic matchup. He's a more aggressive fighter than Klitschko, so I think that makes it a much more compacted fight. I think it's a lot more of a don't blink fight, because Wilder, I think, is every bit as his chin is every bit as questionable as Klitschko's too. He's like I've said in the past, he looks like a bit of a glass cannon to me, a guy that could knock you out or be knocked out. And he's more wild than Vlad, which it might give him a better chance to finish a guy when he's hurt, but it also gives that guy a better chance to crack him when he's way up in the same moment. So it might be a more exciting fight just all the way around as well.
But the thing I think everyone knows AJ is that he fights in like raids and bursts, doesn't he? And he was struggling. He tired, didn't he? Did everyone notice that? Like if he put together a little flurry, he'd have to step off and get a rest. So someone who's willing to make him work, he's vulnerable. If you can survive and you can survive his bursts, there's always an opportunity to throw punches at him, to let off your own punches. Don't you think? Did everyone notice that during the fight?
That's definitely the case. Joshua's not a perfect fighter by any means, but he's extremely good at what he does. And even if you have certain advantages on him, he still has other ones on you, where he can overcome those deficiencies.
All right, are we all done on this fight?
Just quickly, because I didn't hear you were all super impressed, or did you all think? Just quickly, did you all think that Vlad he got out of jail a little bit with what happened with Vlad not putting it on him?
Yeah, we all definitely thought that Vlad let him off the line. Like he should have kind of jumped on him and try and take him out in that 6th and possibly the start of the 7th. And Vlad knows that himself. But we were critical of before you jumped on. Me and Hamada were talking about Joshua's technique as well, because initially when I first watched it live, I thought his technique went out the window, after he was tiring / hurt. But no, like even if you look at the second round, the way he would throw his right hand, he was looping it pretty high, and it wasn't like the way it was when he's fighting like bums. So
and that jab was floppy, wasn't it? It was just that's the thing that I really noticed. The thing that I was shocked by is I was surprised at how his technique with the jab.
Yeah, he was pushing it out. He was kind of stepping in and pushing the jab. It didn't have that snap in it, which I was quite disappointed at, because when you see him on pads and when you see him against bums, like the jab's on point. So I don't know if they're fighting someone of high caliber got to him, the whole arena, everything got to him. I don't know. Maybe it was nervous energy.
Yeah, I think something happened like that.
Yeah,
which is fair enough. It's early on, isn't it, really, to be in this situation in 19 fights? It's a pretty meteoric rise. So
no, it's amazing.
If it got to him, that that's understandable, right?
Yeah, like guys were having this conversation about Wilder earlier on. Wilder's had 38 fights. This is Joshua's 19th fight, and you can both say they didn't have much of an amateur background, really. Like even though they attended Olympics and stuff, they didn't have many fights under the belts before that point. So for a guy, young guy, 19th fight, fighting a former kingpin of the heavyweight division, it's pretty amazing.
But you would think other guys in the division would think, having watched that, and if you've got a good trainer, we can make a plan for AJ. We should take that fight. We get well paid, and there's chinks there. That's what I would be thinking. If I was Wilder, I was thinking I want him next. I don't want him in 5-6 fights.
take him
I
now.
want him right now.
Yeah.
Right now. After what I saw.
And Wilder, I think, with him being there and like being like a third commentator with Sky, which I don't think he really added any insightful information, but there you go. I think he saw the event. Like, if I was Wilder, I'd come over to the UK. You're going to get a massive pay packet. It's going to be a worldwide event because it's not often that Showtime and HBO, albeit HBO picked up like I think a delayed show, so they couldn't air it live, but Showtime had the live event. So for both of them picking it up, I know HBO have played Vlad's fights in the past, and Showtime have been pretty high on Josh. So this is a massive fight, both in the UK and the States, all over the world, really, man. If Wilder and Joshua fight, so I think Wilder should really go after that fight, and so should AJ, because I don't think Wilder's that good. Pick up another strap, even though they don't mean much these days, and just try and get the Parker fight and just be undisputed.
But it's two flawed guys who can both punch. It should work, right?
In theory, yeah.
Someone should be fucking starched, not starched out, but laid out by the end of that fight.
Yeah, in theory, but
in theory,
doesn't always happen.
Unless Wilder gets on the jab and runs around. But I mean, that's the one. That's the thing I think is interesting about that fight is, for all of his flaws, he's more athletically gifted in that sense. He moves better. I mean, it's a bit it's a bit uneducated and a bit gangly, but I think he can move AJ around enough to tire him out and to make it a fight.
Yeah.
Personally, but I'd still pick AJ to win that fight, right? I'd pick AJ.
Okay.
I haven't even seen that fight, but still want to see it.
Before we move on, I just want to talk about social media after the fight, and social media's been amazing, man. Like, there's two parts I want to talk about. First part is people that don't know anything about boxing, like tweeting out stuff. It's just been amazing. Like there was one lady that said, like, I don't know much about boxing, but I want to see Joshua versus Mayweather next, and it's like the start of your sentence said it all. And there was another guy saying, please explain why Joshua can't fight Mayweather, and then someone else replied to him and said, well, Joshua is the heavyweight and Mayweather is the lightweight. It's two different divisions in boxing, and that's why they can't fight each other.
What was your tagline for that? And what did you say? What was it? Casuals teaching casuals.
Yeah, that was amazing. It's been amazing, man. Like, just follow Twitter.
Oh.
This weekend has been like the highlight of my weekend. It's been amazing. But another thing though is, Leon, have you noticed like Fury fans going back and forth with AJ fans? That's been amazing as well.
Oh, it's been amazing, but they're both a bunch of weirdos. Those guys, like, you just. I get the thing I get about Fury fans. Their point of view is that Fury got a lot of shit from AJ fans because of how he beat Vlad, right? And they said that Vlad was past it, but now and then we're saying Vlad's now this beast at 41, and AJ's walked through fire, which he has. But you've got to be like, right, that's the same dude, right? He might have slightly underestimated Fury and turned up a bit better for AJ, but in basic terms, that's the same fighter.
Yeah.
No.
The thing is, like, when he fought Fury, he had nothing for him. Nothing. That was a total shutout.
Yeah, look, but people getting into it, Fury fans just shut up and sit down because their boy's a mess.
Yeah.
And AJ fans don't want any of that right now after what he's just been through. So they should just leave each other alone. But they've been going mental at each other, haven't they?
Yeah, that's going to happen though, especially with as much of the domestic rivalry stuff plays a role.
And then there was, of course, the obligatory Leon meltdown. But yeah, no, I enjoy these big fights.
Leon,
they bring out madness.
Leon, you're my mate, but you were unbearable yesterday.
I was out of control, wasn't I?
You were out of control. All right, let's move on. Undercard, I don't really spend too much time. I was pretty awful, to be honest. We'll start off with Scott Quigg, the transform man that he is under Freddie Roach now. I thought he was pretty poor, man. Like, the only things I really noticed now is he was more offensive, but he traded it with getting hit more. So it's like, what's better for you, high guard and not getting clipped and not doing much, or doing a bit more? But like, getting hit a lot. So I don't know if he was trying to impress Freddie, if he was trying to impress the crowd. It was a shame that it was a fun fight to watch, and the crowd weren't into it at all, man. It was a pretty dead atmosphere. You know, it was just casual fans all there for Joshua, and it was a shame because I thought if that fight was anywhere else, if it was in Manchester, if it was in a Wembley show, like the crowd would have loved that fight. So Simeone came, really high work rate, but he just didn't have the power to do anything too quick. The shots he was catching it with. Having no effect, but it was a fun fight to watch. Simeone throwing a lot of combinations, Quigg going back in straight lines, which I thought was a bit. Well, it's kind of classic Quigg, but he threw one little new move in, like a little sidestep that I've never seen him do before. So if he's learned anything off Freddie, it was probably that little sidestep. That's all I really got to say, to be honest.
I didn't watch the fight, but I saw someone on Twitter say that he tried to pull a shoulder roll.
He did at one point, which quite funny.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Good.
Naoto, Dan, did you watch this beast that Quigg's turned into under Roach?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of these fights where I wasn't really exactly sure how to take it. I felt like Quigg probably should be able to beat him fairly handily. Simeone put up a much better fight than I definitely expected, being that I really didn't know too much about him. But, Quigg is one of these guys. He's a weird fighter, man. Like he'll look better in some fights, worse in some others. And I'm not even necessarily saying that in terms of him being inconsistent, but I think it's because he has a lot of flaws, technically speaking. That there are certain fighters that can draw out those flaws, and there are certain fighters that can't quite as much. Even if those fighters are at a higher level, like a Frampton, I don't even necessarily think brought out a ton of Quigg's technical flaws necessarily. If anything, he just made him a lot more hesitant to throw in those early rounds. But I mean, Quigg, I think you just match him right, he'll be in really exciting fights, especially in the featherweight division, where I think guys will be a bit more, give and take with him in the ring, and actually, give him something to think about. I know they've been talking about him and Lee Selby. I'm not sure if how likely that is. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I wouldn't really mind seeing him against any of the champions, obviously, because he's a former champion himself at the lower weight, and he's a big guy. So I mean, I have no doubts that he's definitely like a true featherweight and everything. But I mean, this fight, I mean, he did okay. He had a fighter that in there that was, I think, a guy that could give some of the other fighters in the division a lot of issues as well, just stylistically speaking. But I mean, he got the W, and I mean, that's all you could really ask for from the guy.
Yeah, Naoto, this somehow by Hearn got made into an IBF final eliminator. So in theory, depending on what's happening with this Selby Barrow situation, if that doesn't get settled, then I guess the Quigg Selby fight can be made.
Yeah, see, and I think that's definitely really intriguing, because I think Selby can definitely outbox Quigg in a lot of spots, but Quigg, if he gets on the inside, will bully the shit out of Selby. So I think that's a really interesting matchup to be had.
Dan, I don't know if you caught this fight, but has Quigg started to drive the correct way around the wildcard car park now? Daniel, I guess you're not there. Leon stepped away as well. So what else did you see on this undercard, Nicky? Wasn't great undercard, to be honest.
Campbell and Perez.
Give us your take on that.
I expected it to be a fairly tough test for Campbell. I expected it to be a tough fight for him. I think just because I rate Perez a little bit higher than most people do. I remember going all the way back to 25 Campbell. I thought he was pretty impressive. Even against Krolla, even though he kind of melted down in that rematch, Krolla just, he went $1 million on him. He was still, to me, a solid fighter. So when he went in there and basically schooled Maurice Hooker last year, to me, that definitely gave him a good chance against Campbell. I'm wondering if maybe the weight might have had something to do with him eventually kind of getting pulled out at the end of the fight with his corner. I was like kind of half asleep when I was watching it, but to me it was weird because I thought that Perez was slightly up on the cards versus Campbell. I thought he was doing some good things in there. Campbell is a lot more of like a finesse boxer, really. I mean, he has a lot of knockouts, but I think that's really mostly against just lower level opposition. I'm not sure if he really carries the true power at the very top level. And I don't think his power necessarily was getting to Perez. I think, like I said, I thought Perez was up on the cards. I thought, it was kind of a fairly evenly matched boxing match between the two. Why exactly did Perez's team pull him out? Do you remember?
I think he had an arm injury. I think it was either his what's it called, the bicep injury or something like that, because I think he threw a jab and he kind of just tweaked something. He kind of complained to the ref. He asked him, "Are you going to continue?" He said, "Okay, I'll continue." And then he looked okay, and then he was kind of throwing just lead right hands, and then he did throw the jab again, and he just kind of said, "Nah, that's it." And then the ref stopped it. So some type of bicep or arm injury.
Okay, yeah.
But
it's unfortunate because I think that if anything he might have been able to even coast all the way to the end. Although I'm not sure exactly what the official scorecards were, so I don't know if he really had any kind of benefit in actually doing that. So, but I mean, Campbell is a guy that I don't know. I've always been skeptical of him, especially being that he's fighting so much higher as a pro than he did as an amateur. To me, if he's ever going to get a belt at lightweight, it's going to be like some sort of like vacant belt that he winds up filling. Because at the state of the lightweight division now, I really can't see him beating any of the champions. I think they're all just too good, really. Even Flanagan. Flanagan might be the weakest of the bunch, but I think that belt probably gets taken off of him fairly soon. And I definitely don't see him beating Linares, Garcia, or Easter at all. They all provide different dimensions of how to beat him, but I think they all beat him.
That's it. But that fight was to fight Linares, right? Is that true?
It was
That's
indeed.
fucking. He's gonna get obliterated.
Linares was there as well, and kicking game in English, man. That guy's just multi-talented, man.
Did he look anywhere near good? I didn't see it, Cam.
I thought he didn't, guys. I like Campbell. You guys know that, but Perez easily swept the first three. He was just sharper. His catching and countering was a lot better. He just had like lead right hands to the head, lead right hands to the body. And then in the fourth, Campbell started to do a bit better. He was a bit busier, but he wasn't really catching Perez clean. He had like lots of like gloves and arms, but he was working a bit more.
Do you think he was, because he missed weight, didn't he? Do you think he was just a bit? Did he just gas? Is that how he got to him?
Possibly. I know Campbell did, up his work rate after the fourth round, so maybe it was a combination of that. He missed weight, so because I think that Hooker fight was at 140, wasn't it? So maybe just coming down, it's really affected his body a bit. He was hurt with a few straight lefts by Campbell, and then he picked up that arm injury. Whether it was or not, or maybe it was just a blag to get him out of the fight, we won't know. But I don't know. Like Campbell against Linares, that's a massive mismatch. But I was talking to a few people in the chat before the show started, and I don't see it too bad for Campbell, because it's a fight where most people will expect him to lose. So losing to Linares, it's like no big shame. So I could actually see Eddie putting him in there, and then rebuilding him afterwards, because the lightweight division is, as Naota says, it's difficult, man. If you want to become a champ, you have to fight a really tough opponent, or you have to wait until someone moves up or gets stripped or something when there's maybe
but
he
can't hang around though, Cam.
That's the thing. So that's what I'm thinking. He'll just throw him to the lions and then rebuild him afterwards, maybe have that Mendy rematch, and then start maybe having fights internally against other 135/140 matchroom guys, because I think.
But wouldn't you want to see him versus Crawler? I'd rather just see that next. It's more competitive, isn't it?
What about him versus Scotty Cardle, man? That's a great fight.
Cam, we gotta change the name from the lightweight division to the lion weight division.
Yeah, man,
Lions only.
Exactly.
That really is Lions only.
True. But I don't know, Leon.
But I just don't see him beating anyone. He might. Do you know what? I see someone as like Crawler, or someone that could be his ceiling is beating someone like him.
You think he could beat Flanagan?
No, because Flanagan's. One thing about Flanagan is that he's a fucking rough, tough bastard. Like he's like you. Like Nat said, he will probably lose to someone, but no one's going to enjoy fighting him. Like it's not going to be a nice experience because he's a big guy for that weight.
Yeah.
He would just smother Campbell and tire him out. I think.
Forearm him.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Like that guy is, he'll fight dirty, won't he? So it's never going to be an easy night's work. People will beat him, but I just think he would just rough Campbell up.
Yeah,
bouncing up and down on his toes and he'd just forearm him, like he said.
So what do you think now? Are we going to see another whole stadium fight with Linares versus Luke Campbell, or what?
I mean, Linares really is earning with Hearn, isn't he, at the moment? But is there much money in that fight? I mean, you're going to have to start... You've got to think Linares' paid checks are going up. Each time he comes back, you would think, wouldn't you?
I could see Hearn trying to sneak that on pay-per-view.
Like, almost kind of making Linares, we're bringing back one of your favourite fighters, Linares is back. That kind of selling it that way.
Probably, like the pound for pound.
Linares is never a pay-per-view. However good that guy is, and we all rate him, he's not a pay-per-view fighter. But that doesn't mean fucking shit of Eddie, does it?
Nope. Okay, let's move on. Neil, did you see anything else? I think the only other fights on there were Katie Taylor and Joe Cordina.
No, I actually missed both those.
All right, Joe Cordina fought a 12-year-old, and that's about it. Stopped him in the first round, so we'll move on. Katie Taylor, she fought someone that's quite decent, actually. From what Sky was saying, she had a pretty good amateur career, and she was 5-0. And she looked it as well. Like when they came out, she was southpaw stance. She had good lateral movement, good head movement, upper body movement. But Katie just kind of took her confidence away. From quite early, man. Just started to hands low. Katie's quite clever, man. She'll have those hands low, trying to draw that lead jab and then just slip it and counter back. But the only thing I was kind of disappointed with was she was throwing loads of shots and not thinking about accuracy and weight. I would prefer to throw, like 2 less shots, but put a bit more venom in them. But yeah, that fast hands were really good. The movement was good. She kept cutting off the ring. Menka was just, circling the line, especially after, she got hit with a few shots and she became a bit negative. Even though she was still trying, Katie was just bossing it in there, and saying that Katie might fight, hopefully maybe in a few fights, the champ at that weight for the WBA. I think that was for some WBA trinket belt. So, yeah.
Are you telling me that women's boxing is littered with belts as well?
Of course, man.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah,
boxing's
all
horrible,
four,
isn't it, man?
All 4 sanctioned, buddy.
I mean, there's literally hardly anyone out there, is there? Like, I mean,
I don't know
pool
who
must
the
be tiny.
WBA. I don't know who the WBA champion is though, because I was looking through BoxRec and I found the WBO and the IBF champs are both from Argentina. The WBC is from Belgium, but I don't know. They're
saying it's some Uruguayan. I can't remember her name. They didn't mention her name, but some Uruguayan.
But look, if they can't get women's boxing down to 1 belt, we've got no chance. Yeah. That is
I see why they're going after the Uruguayan chick. She has the least number of fights.
Tactics right there. But just quickly, I was saying that
Eddie, don't change for sexes.
Nope. I was saying, Menka was southpaw, and Mr. Fix in the chat said southpaw sisterin, which made me chuckle. That's about it for that pay-per-view. Amazing undercard. I know, Leon. Like, I don't know. I was reading about Josh Kelly, and he was saying that Booth pulled him out, but from what I heard, it was just the timing issue, and they didn't really have the chance for him and Okoli to come out.
That it's whatever. But look, it's funny because I didn't pay for it. I didn't watch any of the undercard. I only watched that fight, the main fight, which was a fantastic fight. So it's kind of like people don't seem as raging as they usually are about how bad pay-per-views are because that main event was so good, right? Did you kind of notice that out in the world?
I did, and it's like there wasn't a big outcry about the pay-per-view price going up as well.
There should have been, but look, I was speaking to my local landlord, and where I watched it. Do you know how much it cost him to put that on for his pub?
How much?
It's like 350 quid, then plus that.
Wow. And like they're charging every pub and bar at that price. Wow, they're fucking raking in there.
They're raking in, but like he said it's fucking. He said he would not put. This is because of the power of AJ. Like he was saying, he would not. There's not another pay-per-view. Like he didn't put Brooke Golovkin on. He would not put the Brooke fight on. He said AJ is the only thing that will make him risk buying a boxing pay-per-view, because he knows that people only turn up for the main event. So he's got to have extra staff on just in case it's busy. So he's like saying he's laying out £900 or something like maybe £700 with all extra staff and everything, and hoping that enough people turn up in an hour and a half to make the money back.
Oh, right, so you're not going to be seeing Spence versus Brooke at the pub then? Because he
No.
ain't buying that
He
shit.
said, but it was jumping. This place was fucking. They were all in there. Oh, Anthony Joshua. Like it was fucking. To be fair, the atmosphere was crazy. I mean, they're all proper, repping the flag lot. So they're all pro AJ. So I had to drink by the door, Cam. Like, just in case, because I was just like, oh, when he got knocked down, my voice was the only one in the pub. Like, oh. But it was crazy. Like people in there, like there must have been 200-300 people in a pub that's usually got 50-60 people on a Saturday night.
Yeah, Mr. Fix is asking, did they charge for entry or just normal?
No, I said he couldn't get away with that because like there's too many locals and that. But it's still like that's a lot of money to lay out, isn't it? But imagine asking, and that money doesn't change. So if he was getting a Brooke pay-per-view, no way would he risk that money.
No, that's just like throwing money down the drain.
Yeah, no one's turning up. He said he was interesting. He said when it was stuff in the ITV, and it was all the super middleweight and all that stuff. And he said even Calzaghe to a point, he wouldn't get people in. Like he would have people at the door, like cramp, and people outside. It would be so packed. But he said boxing's dead for pubs.
It is, unfortunately. Okay, are we all done on Sky, AJ, all this?
Yeah. I am anyway.
All right. I don't know which fights to get into next. I did watch the Pulev Kingpin Johnson fight. It wasn't that good. Johnson was very negative, even though he was trying on another occasion. Pulev started to take over in the late rounds, give him a bit of a beating, pretty much towards the end.
Yeah, I just watched like the later rounds.
Yeah,
just
so
skipped ahead.
My review on that, unless you got anything to add, Naota.
No.
And I guess it's the card in Philippines, Naota. Nietes versus Nantapec and Mark Magsayo blasting out Namen Penche. You probably pronounce his name better than me.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Nietes' third belt, picked up that vacant strap. IBF. I was just saying to you before the show, it was okay fight. It was a bit, maybe lacked a bit of drama and excitement.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. I thought Nietes almost lost, actually. I thought Congrich was giving him a lot of problems. It's kind of funny because Nietes at flyweight almost reminds me a little bit of Chocolatito at super flyweight, where it's almost like he's fighting just like, it seems like one division north of where it's optimal for him. And I think a big part of the reason why, especially for Nietes, at age 34, he's really looking to try and cash out now, try to make his big money before it's all said and done. So he's chasing the big money fights. And even outside of super flyweight, even at flyweight, there's big money fights to be had. Ioka still draws huge in Japan. Zhou Shiming is still a monster draw in China and everything. So Nietes could definitely make some good money there. Here against Congrich Nantapec, though, he was having, I think, a significant amount of difficulty just hurting him. It seemed like Congrich almost kind of recently, like his Thai countryman, Sisaket, against Chocolatito, was just absorbing the shots and, kind of laughing at him, actually. He was, smiling at him. He would hit him right back. He was catching Nietes. Nietes does a kind of a weird thing where it's almost kind of like Oscar Valdez, actually. except he's done it like for years and years, and he's actually managed to be really effective with it. Where he'll land a couple of good shots, and then he'll kind of leave his hands low and be moving his head like in a defensive manner to make opponents miss. And while I think he was able to get away with that, especially a lot at 105, 108. Where even if an opponent was able to kind of hit him in the midst of him kind of trying to do a weird little, you can't hit me, kind of Roy Jones, Pernell Whitaker type routine or whatever, even if he got hit in some of those lulls, they didn't have really a lot of power to put him on notice. Comgridge had that power to put him on notice. And I'm not even necessarily saying that in terms of Comgridge is like this huge puncher. I think it's a lot of the fact that he's just a bigger guy than Nietes is. So I think that played a lot into it. Comgridge's only losses, he has 3 losses on his record before this one, came at higher weights, to Prince Albert Pagada, the guy that he was a surging super bantamweight contender recently, and he got knocked out by Cesar Juarez, the one that almost defeated Nonito Donaire about a year and a half ago. And his only losses were at like bantamweight and super flyweight. Fighting a guy that's really more of like a natural light flyweight, I think, even though Nietes was probably the most skilled fighter that Comgridge has ever fought, I think that helped him just because he was able to kind of physically bully Nietes in a lot of those rounds. So I scored it, 7-5 Nietes, but I mean, I could have very easily seen Comgridge getting the decision. But I mean, it was in the Philippines, so Nietes wound up getting the benefit of the doubt. 2 judges had it 117, 111, which I thought was way too wide. One judge had it 115, 113, which I thought was on the money. That's what I had it. But I mean, I could have easily seen Comgridge getting the decision. If it was in Thailand, I think he absolutely would have gotten it. He just proved really tough, and it's kind of interesting because even though Nietes, I think, is a bit small for the flyweight division, small like in terms of he doesn't necessarily have like a lot of power to like just crush guys and really outskill them as well. All the guys that are flyweight champions right now were guys that kind of came up from lighter weights. Chiritos Hernandez was originally a 105er. Kazuto Yoka was like a weight draining 105er who's a bit of a natural light flyweight light flyweight / flyweight. And then Zhou Shiming even he spent pretty much most of his adult life in the amateurs, in the Olympics and stuff, and he was dominant as a 106, 108er. So, I mean, Nietes against any of those guys, I think he definitely still stands a fair shot. I don't think anybody necessarily just completely out-physicals him. Albeit, I think Hernandez and Shiming both have much better footwork. They could, it'll take a bit for Nietes to try to catch up. He'll definitely have to be looking to cut off the ring against those two. Versus Yoka, it's a bit of a different matter because Yoka is just a bone-crushing puncher, especially to the body. So that's a bit more of a slugfest. But Nietes, I honestly think that he might wind up actually being the weakest champion at flyweight at the moment, just based off of how he's looked in this fight, as well as even in the Edgar Sosa fight, where even though he was able to kind of rock Sosa, a very old Sosa, flabby and sick version of Sosa and everything. I don't know. To me, he probably should have gotten him out of there with ease and stuff, And I think Nietes has kind of always been the beneficiary of fighting a lot of these kind of WBO contenders that really weren't on his level for the most part. He's only fought a few like really top-notch guys, Moises Fuentes, the Garcia brothers, Raul and Ramon, and like Manuel Vargas. But between that, there was a lot of iffy kind of level of competition. So it's anybody's guess as to how he's going to do at flyweight. I'm not sure if he's ever going to get that truly big money clash that he was chasing versus the likes of Chocolatito. Even though his team kept turning it down because it's like they wanted to give him more time. I think the time has kind of run out, unfortunately for Donnie. But I definitely think that he'll be an exciting fighter at flyweight, if not the best fighter at the weight class. So that's pretty much what I got to say about it. I don't know if you thought he won the fight clearly, Ken.
I didn't score the fight. I just watched it and enjoyed it. But I thought Nietes kind of nicked it. He started off well. The jab was really good. He was kind of throwing his lead left hook, which he was missing quite badly. He was kind of jumping in with it, looking really bad when he was missing with it. But slowly, especially towards the end 10th, 11th, 12th, it was really Nementepec that was putting the pressure on, and Donnie, everything he was hitting him with, he's just bouncing off him. So as I said to you before we started the show, I don't know if it's a case of he's just up at a weight now, 3 divisions higher than where he started, that his punch is not really having an effect, or if this dude just really had a good chin. I guess we won't know until maybe a few more fights, but...
I mean, I'd say it's a little bit of both. I mean, Nietes wasn't ever like a one-punch KO artist guy, but I mean, it was one of those he'd crack you with one, and that would kind of set up the finish. But you know, I think it's a little bit of both. But I mean, Zoshimin to me has a pretty solid chin. You know, I've seen him clipped a few times, and he takes it well. Ioka has an excellent chin. I've seen him clipped a number of times, and you know, it takes a bona fide puncher to really hurt that guy. And even Hernandez too. Hernandez has never been hurt that I've seen really, like hurt where it's like you thought he was going to go out. You know, he momentarily stunned, but his footwork always kind of danced him right out of the problem pretty quickly. Good recovery. So I think Nietes could be in trouble at flyweight. I don't think he's the same dominant force or the same explosive force that Casimero was, because it was Casimero's belt that he wound up winning. He picked up after he vacated. So,
do you think Nietes lied on his parents lied on his birth certificate, man? Because he looks like about 56.
Yeah, he does. He has like that Luis Ortiz face, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like a lighter skinned Luis Ortiz.
But quickly on Matt Magzee, I know I've been kind of high on him for a couple of years, ever since he fought Avalos. I think it was on the undercard of a Donaire fight in the Philippines. But yeah. Not much to say in this fight. He starts dude out in the first round with a nice counter left hook. He did get up, but through another, I think, continues to left hooks and just dropped him, and the ref stopped it. But he's definitely a guy to watch out. He's still young. He's only 21, I think, and that was his 16th fight. So they're definitely going to take it slow with him, but he's a good guy.
Well, and he was a replacement. He was a replacement opponent, late replacement. Okay. Not Papichit. I forgot who the original opponent was, but he was a better quality guy. But they kind of tried to salvage it at the last minute, and that's what they got. And Magsayo did what you should do to an overmatched opponent, and got rid of him and looked impressive doing it. They've been recently talking about him possibly fighting Oscar Valdez in sometime in the near future. I'm not sure if that's going to work out great for him, but at the same time, I mean, he does have some flaws, but I do think that they could give him some more time to work those things out, because he is a really young guy. He's only 21,
Oscar is way too early for him. Yeah, I think he needs at least another two, possibly 3 years. But because against Avalos, as much as I liked his offense, like he was very wild, man. He was lunging in, he's quite open to shots. So he definitely needs to.
I think if anything, a lot of that talk is coming from the promoter, Edito Villamor, because of the fact that Nietes is getting older, and they kind of he in particular needs a new star in order to fill kind of the vacancy for like Philippines boxing and stuff, because like Nietes is like the guy. He's with regards outside of Manny Pacquiao, who's like not particularly active. Nietes is like the man in the Philippines, and so Villamor is looking to, I think, capitalize on trying to build a young star. He kind of got screwed with the Pagara situation when Albert got knocked out by Juarez, because he was about to get the title shot. But hopefully he doesn't wind up rushing Magsayo, because I mean he didn't rush Dani Nietes, as I mentioned before. So hopefully he's able to take his time with him.
Yep. What else do we have this weekend? The rematch of the Alvarez's versus the Chavez's. Unfortunately, it was Omar versus Raymond, but I saw it. Nothing much to say. Started shipping shots in the second. Did Ramon, and the ref kind of stopped it. It was a bit, I don't know, it's a bit lackluster, I thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first fight, I thought it was better than the first fight, though, because the first fight was, I didn't think the greatest like action fight or anything. A lot of people really liked it, but I didn't particularly think it was that great. Ramon had won a close decision in the first fight. This fight, Omar just went in there and fucking blitzed him, man. He just caught him with that right hand and just kept throwing that overhand right over and over again, and Ramon looked fucking drunk up against the ropes, like he was completely out of it.
Even before that point, though, like his punches looked so slow. I was like, well, what's wrong with this dude, man? It's only the first round, man. Why has he got no snap in his punches? Maybe he's struggling.
Omar or Ramon?
Weight. Sorry?
Which one?
Ramon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, possibly. Yeah, it possibly might be a weight thing. Because I mean, he's built basically just like Canelo is. Yeah, he's got the same body type, really. Omar isn't quite as big as Julio. He's like leaner. He's like a little bit taller and leaner than Julio. But Ramon is built pretty much just like just at Canelo. So yeah, it could be a weight thing. Maybe they'll have the trilogy fight at at full middleweight this time instead.
Maybe it can headline the T-Mobile. Maybe not.
Yeah.
And what else? We had a Fox Sports 1 card with PBC, TMT card, I think it was, Zambrano versus Marrero. Featherweight.
Yeah, man. Floyd had just signed Claudio Marrero. They were looking to capitalize off of that and take that interim WBA featherweight title from Zambrano, because that basically makes it so that if that rumored Santa Cruz versus Mars fights in the near future, the winner of this fight would have been the mandatory. But Marrero went in there and got completely obliterated by Zambrano. All right, excuse me. Zambrano went in there and got completely obliterated by Marrero. Zambrano was the one that was signed by TMT. I crossed them up and mixed them up. And so that was definitely a disaster. I don't know if Floyd might have seen it coming, because I didn't even actually see him at the event, which was surprising considering it was in Vegas. But yeah, man, Marrero did the damn thing. He had a shot previously a few years ago when he had his only loss to Jesus Cuellar. That was actually a bit of an upset on Friday Night Fights. But here he didn't waste any time. Got him out of there with a nice right hook, left cross combination, and that's all there was to it. And it looks like he'll be a factor in the featherweight division in the near future. He's a pretty solid fighter, so I think he's worthy of it.
It was funny just having the weird commentary team. Obviously, it was a TMT card, and who did they have?
Badou Jack and Jack.
It's like, what the fuck? Well, who was the other guy the guy that we hate for PBC? He's the ringer now. Is it Baby J Flores or something like that? Something like that. He was commentating alongside him. It's pretty whack, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's about it for this week, Naota. You got any news you want to talk about?
Am I the only one left on the call?
You are indeed.
Well, shit. I better see if I can find some news. Give me a second. I didn't even get a chance to look and see if there was any major headlines all of a sudden.
I've got two others. We can talk about the Chavez Jr. versus Canelo face-off, which I thought was quite decent, and I thought Canelo got the best of it. He was kind of turned Chavez into his bitch a bit. Chavez was being quite nice and humble at the beginning, and then fucking Canelo just kind of jumped on him. Yeah,
he did. Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think Chavez is going to come into this fight as well prepared as he could possibly be. Will he be drained? I think, I don't even think he necessarily knows until it comes time to rehydrate and everything, if he's able to do it successfully. But if he's able to do it, at least with a modicum of success, I think it's going to be a really good fight between these two. A very heated confrontation. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Alvarez kind of got the better of Chavez in terms of talking shit in the face-off and everything. I think Chavez might have been kind of playing a little bit closer to the chest though too, because I mean he said a lot more vitriolic things than he actually did there in the face-off. So it'll be interesting to see the fight though.
Yep, and the other piece of news that I've really seen mostly this week was focused on Vlad versus Joshua, so there wasn't many announcements, but Haskins versus Ryan Burnett in Ireland, I think that's a pretty decent fight, even though Haskins is quite awkward to watch, man. His style is not the best on the eye, but it's a pretty big step up for Burnett, and I've been high on him. Under Booth, he developed quite well. He's got a good movement, good punch selection, combinations. I actually kind of favour him to beat Haskins, Haskins has been inactive since he became champ, really. I know he had fights lined up that didn't happen, but
looked bad against Stuart Hall.
A lot of people thought he lost that fight, and he was supposed to fight in Japan. That didn't happen. So I'm favouring Burnett to beat him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really know too much about Burnett. I'd have to do some research. But I mean, Haskins to me is the most vulnerable champ, and that's been the case I think for a year and a half now. I think if there's anybody to go after a title for, it would definitely be Lee Haskins. I see Marquez, I guess, might be coming back on June 24th, possibly. They don't know who his opponent might be, though.
I'm kind of done with Marquez, though. It's when you've been out the game so long, it's I'm not interested in him.
Too inactive. Yeah, too inactive. I think he should just let it go and be happy in retirement. But it's one of those things. It's these old guys got to get knocked out in order to get to quit. I think he has to get his Hopkins moment. He gets knocked out of the ring and and he's looking up like, why didn't you catch me?
That's true. We're talking about bantamweight and Haskins being the weakest. We saw Tete. Was it last week or the week before? I think it was last week. Time goes so fast. But he's being made to full WBO champ now.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I had even, basically called that before they officially announced it, because I knew that with Tapala's missing weight and then Nakamori out again, they had to make him the champion. There was no other choice. I mean, what are they going to do? Like, keep him as the interim and then fill the full vacancy? I mean, the WBO isn't the WBA, because that's something that they would do. But props to Tete. Now he's the full champ, and hopefully we'll see him in the bigger money fights. Maybe even Naoya Inoue sometime in the future, Yamanaka. And that's if Yamanaka survives, and like I say that in a major sense, survives his upcoming test against Luis Neri, because that guy is an absolute monster of a fighter. At bantamweight, he's managed to burst onto the scene the last couple of years. Fighter from Mexico, he's almost like a James Kirkland with a lot of skills. Like he can box his ass off, but he likes to do away with it sometimes and just fucking take your head off. Just throwing bombs at you. Really fun fighter to watch. So Tete, I think, will definitely have some good matchups to be had at bantamweight now that he is the champion. Now that he doesn't have to necessarily play second fiddle and have other guys be ahead of him in line for title shots and all that stuff. He's the one with the belt, so he'll at least have some more say in how things go with his career.
Does this dude that reminds you of Kirkland but with more skill take black pills? Oh no.
No, not that I know of.
Anything else?
Nothing much else other than I see that I'm seeing that I guess Nico Hernandez is going to have his second fight coming up soon. I'm hoping that he actually drops back down to 112. It looks like they're saying that he will be, because he was at 115 for his pro debut, but I think that was for the opponent, because his opponent had been fighting up at higher weights. So that's good, because even though he's really tall for the weight classes, I don't think he has the true physicality to be messing around at super flyweight yet. He's still a young guy. He may grow into it, but not yet. But it's good to see a lot of these Olympians and amateur standouts and stuff from last year kind of progressing and getting some TV time. It's like we hadn't really had that as much with the 2004, the 2008 class of a lot of the amateurs. It seems like some of these guys are getting a little bit more shine, I think, with boxing being just more prominent on more channels and stuff, not only in the U.S. but in the U.K. and worldwide as well. So I'm happy to see it. Happy to see some of these guys get some more exposure earlier. I think it's good.
All right, let's start previewing this upcoming week. But before we do, let me just give a quick shout to the people in the chat. We got Pinhead360, Sam Pickett, Chinaman, Overbruv, B, RD Hey, Davis Lee 1, Mr. Dermo, Jason 268, Beast Mode, Arizona Slim, Tico, African Shah, Kevlar, PM versus Mr. Fix, Loma Usyk Klitschko, Michael McDonough, Shams 1000s, Josh Just, Nothing for Something, and 12 guests. Okay, should we start off with, I guess, the biggest fight, the pay-per-view? Chavez versus Canelo. Naoto, you saying just before when we were talking about the face-off that you think it's going to be a good fight? I don't, I think the weight's really going to affect Chavez. I know he's looked good in pictures and he looks in shape, but I think those last couple of pounds, I think they're going to drain him. And even if he's not drained, I think it's going to be quite easy for Canelo. I think Canelo's body work will just take any type of confidence away from him. It'll just slow him down. He'll be kind of high guard, just following Canelo around the ring, and I don't think he'll stop him. I think it'll go to the cards, but I think it'll be like a 12-0 fight, 11-1 maybe if Canelo takes a round off near the end or some shit. But I think it's going to be a convincing victory for Team Ginger.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's at the very least what De La Hoya and Alvarez's team were kind of meaning this fight to be. Like when they were talking about making this fight, they were saying, okay, like this is the way that it's going to be played out, exactly how you just stated. But I honestly, I don't rate Alvarez as high as like a Sergio Martinez, and I think if Chavez comes into this fight in like proper shape, I don't think that he gets blown out. Yeah, I think that it will take a drained Chavez for Alvarez to do a number on him in that fashion that you were stating, for him to do it. You know, to me, Alvarez, he just, as much as a lot of people have tried to make him into like the new star to carry the torch from like Pacquiao and Mayweather, and at the very least at middleweight, like from like Martinez and stuff, I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's as good as any of them. And I think whether it proves against Chavez or not, I think isn't necessarily the entire point. But you know, if Chavez is in shape, then I think that it'll get proven again. You know, just like he kind of underwhelmed against Cotto, just like he kind of underwhelmed against Mayweather. I think there's a big potential for him to underwhelm against Chavez if Chavez is properly hydrated back to where he should be. But I mean, that being said, you know, that's a whole lot of assumptions being made that Chavez can come in good shape at a weight that he hasn't been at in several years, and you know, considering how inconsistent he's always been is a big if. Whereas Alvarez tends to be a bit more consistent. Although with Alvarez, the other potential question might be how he carries 164.5 or whatever the hell, and exactly like how he carries the weight into the ring. You know, if he winds up being 175 or 180 on fight night. Because he'll be a little bit bigger than he has in the past, and his footwork is, in terms of like being able to cut distance, has never necessarily been the greatest. So that could be an interesting question to be answered as well. At the very least, I think there might be a couple of questions that'll be answered in terms of Alvarez, how he looks in particular at the weight, even if Chavez isn't necessarily competitive against him, depending how he turns up. So at the very least, you know, I'm interested to see the progression, and then if Alvarez does win, how he'll potentially match up with Golovkin or some of the other fighters in the future, Charlo, Jacobs, etc.
Fingers crossed, man. We need some of these big fights happening. I love the Golovkin fight if that happens, obviously, and even the Charlo fight. Last couple of years, have really become high on Charlo, even though they got no dress sense, but that doesn't matter. Beast Mode's asking, and people in chat, but I might ask you as well. Anyone think Chavez has the power to rock Canelo if he lands big? Definitely, I think. If he lands a clean shot on Canelo, definitely can cause Canelo some issues. What do you think? Yeah,
I mean, I thought James Kirkland hurt Canelo in the early rounds of their fight. I thought he hurt him a couple of times. You know, dropped him back into the ropes and everything. Had Canelo a bit more defensive in that fight. You know, of course, Canelo managed to get him out of there, but you know, Kirkland is another one of those guys. He's kill or be killed, not gonna be knocked out. But yeah, Chavez, I think, definitely has the power to hurt Canelo. I mean, he hurt Martinez, and Martinez definitely had a good chin too. Yeah, if he lands a clean one and he's in proper shape and everything, I think he has the power to do it.
You got anything else regarding this fight? I know Lim will probably jump in and give his 2 cents in a bit, but he's not on the line at the moment.
No, I mean, I said probably about as much as I could in terms of, you know, both sides of it.
All right, let's just go on undercard. I don't know. It's a mixed kind of undercard in the sense it's a pay-per-view. I don't actually mind it. You got Jojo Diaz, who I'm high on, against Manuel Avila, but Avila undefeated, but he's not really got much power. I think he's only got 8 knockouts. Matisse versus Emmanuel Taylor. I don't mind it as a kind of return fight. Matisse, as though he's been out for a while. But even like Taylor, I think maybe could have picked a better opponent. And Lemieux's on there, which is good to see. But again, like Reyes as an opponent, I don't know. It's a bit of a step backwards after that Curtis Stevens fight.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I mean, Reyes recently fought Chavez Jr. Yeah, he's a bigger guy than Lemieux, which I guess he kind of has going for him, or at least he's a bigger guy than Stevens was for Lemieux. So Lemieux might not just be able to completely roll the guy over. I think it might be a bit of a fun slugfest for as long as it lasts. I favor Lemieux though. Jojo Diaz and Manuel Avila. Avila is actually a pretty good boxer, so I think he might be able to give Jojo Diaz some riddles to solve. I think Diaz, his hand and foot speed is going to give him a significant advantage over Avila, though. So I definitely think that he'll win comfortably. But I think Avila will at least give him some questions to answer, and will maybe show some things that might happen in the future with Diaz, depending on when they finally step him up to the bigger name fights, Valdez and the other champions. Matisse and Taylor actually I think is a pretty solid matchup. I mean, you got to think Taylor ran Broner really close fairly recently. Still a top level guy. Lost a close one to Orozco as well. Of course, Matisse said this is his comeback fight. And I mean, honestly, I think I thought they would have picked an easier opponent for Matisse to come back against. Taylor doesn't necessarily provide a ton of power versus Matisse, so it's a little bit more like boxer versus puncher, where Taylor's, I guess, more the boxer. Matisse is a bit more of the puncher. So Matisse won't necessarily have a ton to worry about in terms of power, but I think that Taylor has enough skills that he can give Matisse a lot of issues, especially if Matisse is not able to get started early. If he takes a few rounds to get going, I think Taylor could definitely give him a lot of problems.
Lim, are you back?
It's just about Canelo. That's it. Nothing more. We had one UAE athlete show up this past weekend, and the second Under Armour bad boy is going to show up this week, point blank period.
Is that how boxing is moving forward, Lim, do you think? If you're signed with Under Armour, you're a beast?
Yeah, so I mean, but you got to be like thick, sexy, good-looking, handsome, alpha male, so there's not many of them, so outside of Joshua and Canelo, who else is worthy of that UA kind of logo, Like, who can really pull off that compression gear like AJ and Canelo? I just don't see it.
Do you think they're trying to snap up your boy McGregor?
No, he's not thick enough, unfortunately. You got to be thick, like have big muscles, and there's just not many of them, to tell you the truth, man. I'm trying to think of what kind of guys you have in the weight division. And there's really not many. It's a very specific body type you got to have that pull it off. But
okay, let's get serious. I know you and me have had conversations about Chavez and Canelo, but for the people listening, give us your breakdown on the fight.
No, I think it's going to be a fun fight. I mean, it's going to be a carnival, it's going to be a carnival type of spectacle atmosphere, and I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty fun, man. I have a couple of friends who live in Vegas, and these are people who don't watch boxing at all, but they know of the event that's going on, which is good because last year they didn't know about Chavez Khan. So I think this is it's going to be a pretty casual, filled event, much like the Joshua Vladimir fight, but it's going to be fun, man. I hear Vegas is already pretty packed this week, just from today. Hotel prices are really high, and there's going to be a shitload of people in Vegas this week. So I'm just looking more forward to the atmosphere more than anything. I think the fight's going to be fun too. I think Chavez is going to be weight drained, but not enough to the point where he can't still be a pretty fun, active fighter when he fights Canelo. And I could see Canelo getting stunned a couple of times in the fight because Chavez is such a bigger body. Just having somebody, I think, weigh down on you and just come forward and eat your shots and just kind of put all their body weight on you. I think it's going to be a new kind of sensation that Canelo is going to encounter for the first time.
Sorry, I was just drinking something. I think the real reason there's going to be a carnival atmosphere. I think there's a real reason going to be a carnival atmosphere in Las Vegas over the weekend is not because of the fight or not because of Cinco de Mayo. It's all because of on Friday night Gamboa was fighting at the Cosmopolitan, so that's the real reason. Will you be attending?
Are you serious?
I know you're going to be in Vegas.
I might actually. I mean, if I can get tickets for $10, fuck it, I'll go.
No, that's too much.
But
man.
anything
about $5, I think.
No, I'm sure they'll give out free tickets there. So yeah, I'll check it out. I'm going to be in Vegas on Wednesday.
Hey, maybe we'll see you on TV because it's going to be on ESPN too.
Oh shit!
It's going to be on the Ocho. It's going to be on the Ocho, Lim. I'm going to see you on the Ocho.
Lim will be the only dude there, just sat on his own, just watching the fight.
Nah, I'll probably be there with my main man Abe. But it's funny, man. I actually don't know too many people going to this fight. Funny enough, the people that usually go to the other events. I actually don't know too many who actually come to this event, which I find kind of surprising.
Is it, do you think, because initially they didn't go ahead to buy tickets because the prices were ridiculous, or do you think they're not really just interested in the fight itself? I know I've said the term, freak fight or kind of in the past.
I just think it's because they're poor.
Well, financial situation has a big effect, I guess.
They're just bums.
Oh, well, yeah. we're not all ballers like you, Lim, so.
The ticket prices are insane. And you're absolutely right, Cam. Like, I wouldn't blame any fight fan for not coming to this fight. Man, I sound like I've been watching too many Michelle Joy Phelps videos. I keep thinking fight fan. But, yeah, I wouldn't blame anyone for not going to this fight because, like you mentioned, it really is a fight that shouldn't have been made in the first place. It doesn't have any kind of bearing as to, the legitimacy of either guy. And, yeah, it's just a freak show, but it's fun. And I just think it's more representative of just the fight nature of the event itself in the sense that it's going to be a fight for the casuals, Casuals are going to love it. And it's just going to be like a fight for the high rollers, the high ballers who can afford ticket prices to a way, way, way overpriced event. So I haven't even bought tickets yet. I'm just hoping I'm going to buy tickets on the day of, and hopefully they go down in price because I don't want to spend $500 for a fucking nosebleed.
At least you got a backup of that Gamboa fight, so it's not too bad. I
would rather do a lot of things than go to that Gamboa fight to put them up.
Okay, let's not add the things you would do. That might get us in trouble. What do you think about? Sorry, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Say?
No, go ahead.
Lim, what do you think about Emmanuel Taylor versus Lucas Matisse at 147? His first fight back after that hiatus and at a weight class one higher.
I'm pumped. I'm fucking pumped for that fight, man. I think this is when Lucas just comes back, like on a historical
La
run.
Máquina.
And, just proves himself to all the doubters, and yeah, man, I'm excited. Taylor's a worthy opponent too, man. He went life and death with Chris Algieri, went life and death with Broner, and I just think it's going to be a really good competitive fight.
Okay. Anything else you got in this undercard?
I know that Tino Avila. I know he's undefeated. Is he a Golden Boy fighter? That Tino kid?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I mean, the pessimist in me says that Golden Boy is kind of using him as a sacrificial lamb for Jojo Diaz. Do you know if Tino usually fights at 26?
He's a bit of a floater. He's kind of fought at 22 and 26 the last couple of years. It goes up and down between the two. So
I
think I kind of know what you're kind of getting at, Lim, where they could have him fight Diaz. Diaz gets a nice victory, and then they drop Tino back down to 122, and they could say, "Oh, well, Diaz was just too big and strong for him," and they can kind of spread it out a little bit. Because Tino is actually a really good fighter, really good boxer. Upset Yorandre Salinas from Cuba a couple years back, so he's a solid boxer. He doesn't have a lot of power though, and I think that he lacks the speed to keep up with Diaz also.
I've been told that by a lot of my Bay Area friends. Like, no trolling. Like, they've been telling me, Tino is fucking legit, man. Like, you'd be surprised. But, those Bay Area fans, they love to overhype their fighters. So.
He's a really good fighter. Like I'm saying, he's a really good boxer, just like technically speaking, but he doesn't necessarily have like overwhelming power, overwhelming speed, like those physical attributes that like Diaz has, So he might get out athleticism on Saturday.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Hopefully Tino's good, man, because I do want to see. I like watching JoJo fight. Not to the point where I get a hard on like Camden, but I still like watching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the very least, like I was telling Cam before you got on, I think he'll provide a lot of riddles for Diaz to solve that may show exactly what Diaz has at the top level against like top level featherweights like Valdez and Russell, Santa Cruz, etc. So.
Just got to make sure that the riddle board isn't too far away from JoJo's reach, because we all know that he has very short arms. So
yeah, T-Rex status.
Exactly. He needs some of those short tips. Anyway, yeah, no, Lemieux fight. I don't give a fuck about that fight. I don't know why the fuck he's fighting that guy. Like, what the fuck is that? I mean, the turnaround time is, I guess it's cool and impressive from Lemieux to fight Stevens and this guy in such a short time span, but also says how lowly they view that other guy. So, like, what the fuck? Are they trying to make Canelo look good then? That's the
Well, I
only
don't know if you remember, Reyes fought Chavez on Showtime right after he fought from afar.
Reyes in person a lot of times, man. Like, I've seen him fight. He's very average. So I don't.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
I think the point is to build up a Canelo versus Lemieux fight for September. I think that's why they have him on there.
What about Triple G though?
Well, I think they put him on the card before Triple G looked vulnerable against Jacob. So now it's like De La Hoya might be thinking, why not? But I think originally they were thinking, build for the next fight by having this guys fight on the same card.
Hey, that's smart, man. You can say what you want about Oscar. He may be doing a lot of cocaine, but he's coming up with some pretty sound business decisions. Like, I know that Chavez fight doesn't make any sense, but if you look at it from like a risk versus reward proposition, it's a pretty. Very
print money.
Even Eddie Hearn was commending it. So when Eddie commends something, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, but Leon, Lim, that ruins our September plans of seeing you, man. I'm not seeing you for like a year now. It's not right. He's fucked up my plans.
What, Triple G Canelo?
Yeah.
It could happen in September.
No, not if he fights fucking Lemieux.
Oh no! I don't think he is. I think Nouch is right. I think the way Triple G looks and just all the rhetoric and Triple G making a weird decision, in my opinion, of not fighting Saunders and waiting for the winner, waiting for Canelo, essentially, just kind of shows you. I think that's a fight that both sides are kind of aiming to make.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, that like it was, this whole Lemieux situation happened before Golovkin looked as vulnerable as he did. So I think things may wind up changing. Then maybe they'll have Lemieux on the undercard of that fight, and
sure.
They'll be able to capitalize then.
Got it.
Just quickly down Sorry, Lim.
I'm driving right now with my headpiece on, and I just let like a walk. I let somebody walk. Like, I gave her the right of way, and she walks like a fucking mule, pissing me off. Man. Anyways, what are you gonna say, Ken?
I was just saying, down the pecking order, we got Marlon Esparza. She's Nicholas Adams' girlfriend and also former Olympian, turned professional. But the reason I mention it is because, as far as I know, this is the first ever women's fight that's going to be 3-minute rounds.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I thought they were all 3-minute rounds.
No, the 2.
They're usually 2 minutes, yeah.
Even Katie Taylor's fight?
Yep.
That makes no sense at all, because Marlon Esparza is fucking garbage. The last fight, I don't know how I encountered it. I just watched it maybe on Twitter or something, but I saw clips of the fight, and dude, it was dreadful, man.
Oh, well.
She's gonna have a real tough time, man.
It doesn't sound like a real dick here, but if you look at, I just don't understand how I understand that women have different bodies than men, but she doesn't even look like she works out. Like, she's so chubby, and I just don't understand how she's so sloppy. I mean, she's an Olympian, right? Did she medal?
Yeah. She got a bronze in 2012.
Did you watch her last fight now, Seth?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, dude, she was awesome.
She was very, very slappy.
Fuck.
To say the best. That's probably the best compliment I could give, honestly. Yeah,
have you seen it?
I don't think she's going to be a very good pro, to be honest with you, because actually, at flyweight, there's some actually pretty solid female fighters I've seen down there, especially from Mexico.
Iniesta, my girl Iniesta. I have so much respect for Iniesta. Watching her just duke it out with other girls, having a chance to see her spar, I give her all the props in the world. That's how you fucking fight. But the shit that I saw from Marlon Esparza, granted it's her pro debut, but still, I mean, you look at Katie Taylor's pro debut. I'm not saying she's as good as Katie Taylor, but I watch Katie Taylor's fight because I like watching her fight because she knows how to throw technique or to throw punches and combinations. She does fucking awesome combinations. Regardless of the fact that she's a woman or not, but Marlon Esparza is garbage. Anyways, we spent two and a half minutes on Marlon Esparza, and that's way too much. So, stop talking about it. But yeah, it's so weird though. Like, can you imagine like doing the first of something with a fighter of her pedigree? It's like, out of all the fighters to try something new, why her?
I actually think her partner, Nicola Adams, is going to be pissed, man, because I think she wanted to be the first. And she's kind of beat her to it, so maybe that's going to have some effect on their relationship. Who knows? What else we got next week? On Tuesday, we got Ivan Redkach versus Argenis Mendez, which I don't actually think is a bad fight. But if Redkach loses this...
that's actually a good fight.
Yeah, but if Redkach loses this, man, he's pretty much done. But I used to like Mendez, but he's really gone downhill. Like, against Campbell, he dropped him, he was having success, and then he just switched off and just lost it on points. Like,
I think since he lost to Barthélemy, he's really like mentally gone downhill in a big way. Easter manhandled him. Campbell, like, kind of seemed like broke his will, like, or what was left of it. So I mean, could he out finesse Redkach? Possibly, because I mean Redkach isn't the greatest boxer on the planet. But if anything, I'd slightly favor Redkach in this matchup because I don't think he's as far gone mentally as Mendez is.
Yeah, I think Redkach is always going to be that gatekeeper type of fighter. So I don't think. I don't see him I don't see this fight kind of like making or breaking his career or anything like that. But when is this fight, Cam?
This is
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
BBC on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah. And also on Saturday in Russia, Dmitry Chudinov's facing Zoltan Pap for I think it's the European super middleweight title. No, so it's not Zoltan Pap. That was his previous fight. Oh, no, it's gone. It's showing on ESPN, but it's not showing as a box rep, so I don't know if that fight's been cancelled or not. It's still showing on ESPN rankings, but it's not. Schedule, but it's not always updated. So scrap what I just said for the last minute. Joseph Parker was supposed to be fighting Hughie Fury. We all know what happened with that fiasco. His opponent, nobody knows anything. He was saying, "I'll fight anyone." People like Dominic Brazil and other heavyweights were coming back at him, and he was like, "Yep, I'll take the fight." But then he fights.
He's fighting Razvan Kajanu, man. Come on, show the man respect. The Romanian beast of beasts.
That's true.
Kajanu. He's fucking Parker better be ready because Kajanu's coming for that ass.
Yes, it's a shame, man. Like a lot of us.
He's coming for that ass whooping because that's what Parker's probably going to give to him if Parker is anything legitimate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a shame, though, man. A lot of people looking to forward to the Fury fight, and this is a bit of a big letdown. Really, is the fact that he picked such a poor opponent, and you can say, okay, it's a late replacement, but it's heavyweights, man. Like, they don't have to make a weight. I would love to if Brazil actually did take up the offer and Parker took the offer and they made that fight happen. I prefer that over this, but there you go. I mean, Kajanu's best. It seems like one of the best wins of his career was against a fighter from China named Ji Yu Wu, and he's a Chinese dude with man tits. So I mean, that tells you where Kajanu's quality seems to lie. Yeah, on the coalition, like, a lot of us criticised Joshua when he, won the world title, and a lot of his defences weren't the greatest, but they were kind of better than this. So, I think Parker's people and his promoter Duco need to step it up a bit now. I don't want Parker to be the guy just fighting out in New Zealand, just facing bum after bum.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that the money's there for them to venture out into true like world level territory. It's gonna be tough though because Parker I think is definitely the weakest champion. He's the Lee Haskins of the heavyweight division. So there's definitely gonna be some guys gunning for him, but I think he makes enough money down in New Zealand that they're gonna be real touchy about who exactly he's gonna be fighting. If it's not like the best 3 or 4 guys in the division, it's going to be somebody ranked 150th or something. So it's either going to be the best of the best or somebody that's absolute garbage.
I'm looking at the rankings. So we got Christian Hammer's up there after that great win against You know,
Man,
our plumber
Christian
from
Hammer.
Liverpool. Gerald Miller's up there. Andy Ruiz is still there. Pulev's up there. So I don't know. I think he could fight a few bums for a good couple of years until he fights anyone with a pulse.
Yeah. Actually, I think Miller has a good chance against him.
Ah, shit, man. What does that tell you?
Although I think I rate Miller a little bit higher than most people. I think he's actually a pretty good fighter. But we have yet to see him at the very top level. But I know Brazil was definitely willing to fill in for Parker, but I'm sure Duco and them were like, oh hell no, we're not messing with that guy at all. That's the exact wrong aspect of the risk versus reward ratio possible. Somebody like Brazil.
Yep. That's about it. Unless you guys got any other fights that you've seen.
I wanted to mention the Gamboa Castellanos card. The co-feature of that card is a good fucking fight. That is a really good fight. Abraham Lopez versus Jesus Rojas. Lopez, a lot of people might remember he was on which card was that where he fought Julian Ramirez? It was a close decision. He won against Julian Ramirez. A lot of people thought Ramirez beat him. It was on the Francisco Vargas versus Salido undercard. Abraham Lopez, he's a top level featherweight contender. Jesus Rojas, a lot of people would remember him from when he fought Jorge Arce on one of the Pacquiao undercards years ago, actually. This was back in 2012 when he fought Arce. And remember, Arce wound up kind of bowing out of the fight with like a busted eardrum, whatever, and he hit him in like the back of the head.
Didn't he fight Jorge Lara as well?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he fought. That was a slugfest, but like back and forth between the two of them. Wound up getting stopped because they kept clashing heads. Because Orthodox versus Southpaw, and the way that they both are, they're both kind of real free swinging. So that fight kind of got marred. I know they had it even when they stopped it. I thought Lara probably should have been a little bit ahead. But I mean, for him to be going back and forth with a beast like Lara, I think says a lot about Rojas, and not to mention the fact that he was giving Arce the business up until that got no contested. Abraham Lopez, as good of a fighter as he is, he's definitely in there very tough. I think both of these guys are legitimate, like kind of top 10 level featherweights. I think the featherweight division is a lot more packed than a lot of people give credit for. It's just that not all the best guys are the big names. I think these are two of them right here. And I think that this is probably one of the better matchups that could be made, right up there with like Avila versus Diaz. But I think this one even more so because both of these guys are true featherweights, and I think either one of them could potentially be a world champion in the near future.
Shit,
so, I think it's a good fight.
There you go, Lim. Another good reason to go to that Gamboa fight.
Yeah, the Gamboa fight I think is going to be a dud though, because Castellanos is really good. He's good enough to make Gamboa look like shit, but not good enough to beat Gamboa. I think he's very similar to Gamboa's last opponent.
What were you going to say, Lim?
I'm sorry, I don't listen. I had to write an email to a company, so I didn't hear that.
It's all good. I was just talking nonsense anyway. Have you guys got anything else you want to talk about, or should we wrap it up?
No, just fucking shout out to my boy Femi. Be humble, work hard, and
stay hungry.
Even if you stay hungry, and even family first.
Drink Lucozade.
And remember, drink Lucozade, and if you ever do something nice for somebody else, just make sure that somebody's recording it or documenting it before you do it. That's one thing, motto that I always live by. Even if I'm giving like a water bottle to someone or like $1 to a homeless person, I always make sure to record on it first.
It's the age of the internet, baby. Pics or it didn't happen.
Exactly.
That's the motto to live by.
Except when it comes to fucking bitches, then you don't need to record anything because I just believe you. But when it comes to doing nice things for people, always make sure that it's documented. But no, seriously, man. Honestly, that was an incredible event, man. And I know I'm a casual fan at this point, so you guys can bash me all you want, but it was just pretty awesome to see boxing back at the stage. I've been super harsh on boxing for a long time now, and I think justifiably so. But this thing was fucking awesome, man. It's a grand event that lived up to all the hype and exceeded it. So, fucking great week of boxing. And even though this fight this Saturday doesn't have the same level of legitimacy as the Wilder Klitschko fight, the Klitschko Joshua fight, Still going to be fun, and it's just put like boxing is, I think, on a really good streak right now in the sense that it's at the forefront of people's minds because the UFC is having such a dog shit year. So, but it's pretty cool to see boxing kind of taking back the reins, so to speak.
Well said. Naota, anything else from you?
Well, it looks like Joshua Klitschko did 659,000 viewers on Showtime, which is pretty solid, considering the amount of, I imagine, team streamers that was out there.
Quite early as well over there, wasn't it? Was it? Like,
yes, it was. It was like 2 p.m. when they finally got in the ring, started fighting. So yeah, right in the middle of the afternoon. So not too bad. Not too bad. I'm interested to see how the HBO numbers come in as well. Because that'll just add to that number. But I think it just goes to show. I mean, even though it's not the highest number around, on Showtime, they don't have a ton of subscribers. And I think if anything, the replay that was on HBO and some of the rebroadcasts and stuff might even draw bigger numbers just because of the fact that people will now, like, in the immediate aftermath of the fight, people are like, oh shit, that was a great fight. Like, oh, now I definitely got to watch it, So I think there might have been a certain number of people that were kind of holding off on watching it until they found out exactly what happened too, because, Klitschko tends to make fights a lot really boring too. So, yeah, I don't think that's any negation of how big the fight was. And then I see that Sisake Rungvisai is already back in camp, even though they haven't set a date for him versus Chocolatito too. He's already back on it, man. He's already back in business, drinking that M150 and doing the Thai people proud, man. So
I seen him doing some
ready.
bag work. He was headbutting the bag.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, man. You think some of that tape on that bag might be from the head clashes? He's got that Ram style that just opens up cuts even on a leather heavy bag. It's quite impressive. No, but seriously though, like he's got a great story. I mean, even aside from that, I'm not sure if you watched any of those clips I had sent in the chat before of the people. Like, I mean, I'm sure you can't understand what they're saying, but it's pretty cool to see people in Thailand really embracing the guy and everything. He managed to pull off a big victory. And especially because he wasn't even like the guy that they were trying to build as like the new big star. It was actually his stablemate Nawapan who wound up losing to the guy that I mentioned earlier, Chiritos Hernandez. But big victory, and fight of the year candidate. It's going to get another one, and Sisake is definitely going to be ready for it because I mean he's already training, and he's one of these guys. Especially over there, they train year round. They don't really have off seasons. They're always training. They're always ready to fight anywhere, anytime. So, Gonzalez better get back on his grizzly, get back in there and get ready because Sisake's coming to pull it off again.
Thank you, Naota. Dan, Nikki, thanks for jumping on the show. Also, thank you to Leon and Hamada who jumped on earlier. All the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the number one flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically burn you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
It feels great. Do we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass.
Just to play devil's advocate.
You want one portion of crow or two portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side?
But you won't crush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you? He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weighed for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.